Hello, hello, happy Friday. Welcome to the day after Thanksgiving. I hope that everybody had a good Thanksgiving. Who was it that was eating leftovers? Oh my gosh, I'm going to mess up your name. Depaviana. That was wrong. But already eating leftovers. I love having leftovers for breakfast. Yum, yum. Hello, hello. Happy Friday. Happy day after Thanksgiving. Okay, so full disclosure. My stomach hurts a little bit. It feels like maybe I got a bug, maybe I got a stomach bug. So I'm gonna go as long as I feel like I can go. It doesn't hurt like too bad, but I'm just like, I don't know. I'm just a little, I'm not even under the weather. I don't know. If I take a turn for the worst, you'll know about it. So okay, so welcome. This is honestly my favorite reading of the entire year. I look forward to this all year. It is why are people grateful for you? Why are they thankful for you? I feel like this really gives us all a chance to really understand the kinds of people that we really truly are, because as you guys know, we do a lot of shadow work here on this channel, and our shadow is such a small part of us. It's a potent part of us, but it's a very small part of us, and it's really, in my opinion, linked to like manifestation and the kinds of people, places, and things that we can attract, but we might not understand, like, what did I do to deserve this? Or why is this happening to me? And in that way, it's not like karmic in a certain sense. Like, it's not action and reaction so much of like kind of unearthing or illuminating that small part. And we spend so much time there in this particular group, which again is just a one part of all of our lives, that we kind of forget the conscious part. And so I think that maybe is why I look forward to this reading so much, because I feel like we really get to see like that bright personality, that conscious part of the people who are here and like sharing that space. And it's always such good vibes and such a good feeling that's coming through. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this. So we do have an anchor card today, and it is the seed. So I'll just leave that up there so you can get a good gander, commune with the energy, anything that's kind of standing out to you. You might see this card in your mind as we progress through the piles, or like just connect with it, or the meaning, or if there's a word or a song or anything that you're associating with it, and it might lead to some kind of deeper understanding, because as you know, I feel like we read the cards together. I feel like if you're drawn into tarot at all, you're intuitive and you are developing those intuitive gifts, and that's kind of a side mission as to why we're here. And I feel like I just read for general energies, and you might pick up on things that are more specific to you and maybe like another group. So like another small like kind of subgroup. So that is the anchor card. And then I'll put up here the choices. So the three along the bottom are the actual piles. So pile number 1 is the box, pile number 2 is the temple, and pile number 3 is the offering. So I'll put that up there. Good morning, good morning. We so festive. This year, I've been so messed up with the holidays. So whatever you're celebrating, if you're celebrating Halloween right now, if you're celebrating Christmas,
Thank a wee miss.
thank a wee miss. Oh, interesting. Oh, having leftovers. Yeah, I know. Okay. So get a good look here, and then whenever you're ready, we can just take our moment of silence where we turn the gaze inwards. We allow the energy to drop down and connect with that part of ourselves and part of the world that is beyond and deeper than our concepts of ourself and any of the kind of mundanities that we have to do. So if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's just do that. And whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes and be drawn into whatever pile or multiple piles you are drawn to. Keeping in mind that sometimes the way in which you get drawn into your pile might be a message in and of itself. to do with the situation or to do with how your intuition works. I like to set the intention that everything that happens in the tarot space can be helpful, is intentional, is helpful in a way that doesn't make me or others like a paranoid person, trying to find the meaning in everything. As Freud says, sometimes a pain in the foot is just a pain in the foot. Okay, so shall we do this? What are people grateful for? Let's do pile number 1, the box. Dun, dun, dun. I'm kidding. I don't know why I did that. Okay, so I'm already getting ones for this. Some of you may draw, is what I'm getting, like some kind of like line work that you do, or like drawing the line. That's something that's coming through here. Or just, I also pictured somebody like holding onto a kite string. So maybe you prevent somebody here from kind of like blowing away in the wind or like kind of getting too carried away, or you help people kind of like float nicely on the breeze. There's a strong element of structure to this group, that you provide some kind of structure either in a community. This is very much like, with certain maybe rules or regulations, but it's more coming like, if you've ever gone bowling and you've needed like the bumpers up, like you provide those kind of bumpers, but it feels like very natural. It doesn't feel mean or anything. I've worked a lot with kids in my day, and I've met several teachers who are like this, and you really understand that kids in general, but also the kid in us, really appreciates knowing where the line is, like, and that consistency of, yes, you can do this. No, you can't do this, and so there might even be some level of like sternness, or not even that, like a container. That's what it is. This kind of container energy. Like this is like the kind of keeper of the container. And for some of you, it's like, I just saw leftovers, and that's so funny because we've been talking about leftovers since we started this reading, but like the container, or maybe some of you carry a bag as well. And it's like the Mary Poppins bag where you're like, no, I've got the tissues, or here's, I've got some hand wipes, or I've got, here's a pen, or, here's some gum or something. But you're like the keeper of the container. And again, I'm also getting like leftovers, also supplies. Like a lot of you this feels almost like you might not realize what a big deal all of this is. Well, you probably do, because it's, work, and it requires a lot of effort and energy. All like, the meal prep and the planning. Also, this feels to me like a group that plans like the project. You're very much like just kind of thinking ahead. It feels almost second nature to you though. Like you can't not do it. So you're like, okay, if we're going to have people over, then we're going to need to make sure that we, have things for people to do, or structured elements or something, but it really is this kind of like structure. Another aspect to this structure, because behind this box card, we have like, notice all like the watercolors, and it looks like all just kind of like very free flowing. So for some of you, it might be that to some kind of creative process or something that is more free flowing, like emotions or something like that, you provide this kind of container, this box where it feels like, hey, I'm the safety, I'm the container, I've got you. You can explore, and I'll pull you back, if you need to, or I'll keep a lookout even, you can kind of, you can relax, and you can go into whatever state you need to go into, or you can explore freely, because I will do the left brain thinking for you here in this moment. But you very much have access to the right brain kind of stuff, the flow energy, the flow state is what I'm hearing. Oh, you allow people to get in some kind of flow state because of the structure and the stability that you kind of provide. This is also a group that maybe makes sense of a lot of kind of like loose elements. And I feel like you would know what this is, because it might be in a certain field or a certain topic or in a certain arena. Like this might be in your home, where you just kind of know where everything is and the order that everything should kind of go in. Or this could be like a field of study where you know what like the foundation is. So you can kind of, these are like, it's kind of a guide energy where you can kind of guide people through a process. This also could be something like I just heard like pranayama, or like a yoga flow kind of class, where it's like, or a workout class. That's kind of what I'm picturing is, okay, let's start here. Let's warm things up. And now that things are kind of limbered up, we can, pull you into this. Or if you've ever gone, I don't know why I'm getting this, but like if you've ever gone to a yoga class with a really good teacher, they're the ones counting the reps. They're the ones counting, and so you can just have that freeform experience because you can outsource that kind of thinking, and it allows you to have like a depth of experience and a flow state and a flow kind of experience. But also I'm kind of getting this is organized knowledge. This is, 101 level stuff and then 201 level stuff and then 301, and it's so you kind of organize knowledge where it's not all just kind of floating about as like random bits and bobs of things that we kind of know and we've kind of put together. You string it together in this kind of, it makes sense. There's a logos, there's a rhyme and a reason and a path and a pattern, and therefore it becomes useful. And it because also this is like a pyramid structure, you can tell. It has this like 3D thing where it starts off as this kind of box where a lot of you will do the hard stuff, the boring stuff, the planning stuff, and then it kind of builds the energy up and out of the top. And this might a lot of times feel like a thankless job, but everybody does know how much work goes into this, or at least at some point in their life, they will, because some of you do this for like your kids and they might not at this point know how much work and planning and effort goes in, but as they grow, they're going to have, or they will have, or they have had, for those of you that your kids are older or they're grown, they've had that realization of like, wow, this is a lot of work. And it was like just consistently done. And it was so smoothly done that it was kind of like almost in the background. That's kind of what I'm getting here. It's like, it's almost in the background, but it's the key ingredient that makes everything kind of like come together and everything work and everything flow. Also, this is like a detail oriented or like a double checking kind of energy. This is the person that's like double checking the, I don't know, if you buy plane tickets somewhere and it's like, no, it says that we have to bring this and not this, or we can't, and you'll catch things before it becomes a problem, like, because you're very thorough. And that's whether you're the person writing something out, like maybe the terms and conditions of something, or making a deal or making a contract or making plans or making an arrangement, or if you're like on the receiving end of it where you're like, oh, this is how this is supposed to work kind of a thing. And because of this like base work that you do, everybody can have an experience is what I'm getting. Everybody can have this kind of flow state. Yeah. And I know I said earlier that people do know, like there are definitely people who know how much goes into this, but I think some people just might not know, but it will dawn on them kind of later whenever they're having to do whatever that thing is. Also, training is what I'm getting. Like training is a big one. This is the group that you want to have as managers and trainers and organizers, because again, like as you're training somebody to do the job, like I think people might hear that other people are confused about something and they're like, well, it's so easy, but they're actually realizing that it was easy because of you. It was easy because you made it easy. You broke it down. You mama birded it to them. You broke it down. You digested it in the right way. And then you kind of set it up for them. And I think that's a kind of invisible labor is what I'm getting. I'm kind of getting that invisible labor here with this group, like emotional labor or just the planning and the, like the strategizing. You do a lot of that, but it ripples outwards as well. It's such an investment in people and in your community. And again, it feels like something that you're not paid for or that you're not acknowledged for. But yeah. And I also think this is a group that has, I just noticed the pearl. I feel like you've really been through something. I also feel like you might have a lineage of moms or something that kind of do this. With the pearl, I'm getting like a Cancerian energy, like a traditional energy in some way, where there's something here that's kind of passed down. There is some kind of value here that has been passed down, and it might have caused like a level of irritation, but it's also caused something really beautiful to happen where, I don't know, maybe you've gone through something hard in order to try to live up to a certain standard that you have, because I feel like this is some kind of value or standard that you do have where you're like, even if people are like, well, let me take that off your plate. You're like, I feel like this is genuinely a labor of love where you're like, no. I want to do it, or I like doing it. It is a value that you have. And it's not that you don't mean that like, oh, I love doing it. It's the thing I would choose to do in my spare time, but it does bring a certain amount of fulfillment. And there also might be some level of like type A behavior here where it's like, no. Like I won't enjoy myself unless I know that this is kind of checked off the list and it's done in the right way, because I think this may be a group that is the cleanup crew a bit. Like you are used to cleaning up the mess, and you know that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So you'd rather just catch it up front rather than have, who knows how far something would spin out of control for you to kind of have to do the cleanup and then like restart and redo things. But I also get that you've saved people that hassle as well, because you'll see something coming like hours before, or you'll see it coming. So you'll say the right thing in the right moment. And people really underestimate how much goes into a person who is able to do that. There's a lot of foresight. And in order to have that foresight in whatever arena you're doing that in, you have to have like this kind of intuitive or innate knowledge or like a depth of knowledge. You have to really understand something from the inside out, whether that's just how people are and what people need. Like you can just foresee that this child is going to get cranky on the plane, so you're going to bring an extra this or an extra that. It just feels so considerate. This group genuinely feels very considerate, and conscientious is a word that has been coming out a lot in the personal readings that I've done. Conscientiousness, I think, is just a very beautiful, very, very beautiful energy. These are people that are really great to be around. And it feels to me like, I think for some of you, because I'm kind of getting like conscientiousness paired with agreeableness, which is such a beautiful energy, but it's kind of the energy that that bad actors can try to take advantage of and weaponize against a person, like weaponize your own agreeableness. But I do feel like there's a solid group here that is like not about that. And that's part of the container that you set is like, no, we don't take advantage of people who are agreeable. We take care of those people. And even if that person isn't ready to kind of I'm getting that some of you have helped somebody reinforce their boundaries, or you have somebody's back here because you see the doormat thing. And I think that's because you've been there yourself. You've I just heard recovery and addict here. I just heard addicted to praise. So I think maybe you're kind of distancing yourself from like being addicted to praise, but you can see that in another person. There's strong empathy here. But also you might not be dripping with empathy because this is very like, no, I have a lot of empathy, which is why there are rules. That's why not everybody should be agreeable. That's an energy that a lot of people are being taken advantage of, but you'll see when somebody is taking advantage of somebody who's trying to be very agreeable and is like kind of being treated as a doormat, and you'll be the one to kind of hold a no or to back somebody up. Because you know when you can see somebody that's trying to hold a boundary but they're not very good at it, and so they're kind of softballing it and they're like, well, I don't know, I mean, I maybe, and it's not very effective. And that's the kind of thing that people will really, like the wrong people will hone in on and really push, and they'll kind of twist the knife and they'll weaponize that against a person to say, well, you'll be a doormat and I'm gonna call that nice, or I'm gonna call that empathetic. You'll see that kind of from a mile away and back that person up and say, she said no, well, I just don't understand what the big deal is. Well, the big deal is that she said no, and that's her energy to manage. And, maybe she doesn't need to give you her whole life story about, yesterday and the kids were this. She doesn't need to make an excuse. She can just say no. And the fact that you can't respect that is a you issue. You want to talk about her empathy. Where's yours? She said no. She's not willing to give this right now. That's within her right to do. And so there's a strength here. There's a mama bear kind of energy of, the right people know that you are their kind of backbone, I want to say, or like their strength. But also there's an immense fairness in like this, it's fairness and it's also equity, the difference between equity and like equality. You're not the everybody gets the same thing kind of person. You are everybody gets what they need, and everybody needs to be self-aware, and not kind of, I don't know, throw that kind of fit energy. It's like, well, the reason that she got that is because she's struggling, or I don't know, it's things like that. And, but you just kind of naturally do it because your values are in the right place. This is a very centered group, and I feel like you're kind of the center. I'm seeing a maypole as well, like, that kind of, you're the center of the tent, like the pole that like would hold up the tent. And it's a thankless job. And a lot of people don't want to have to do those things, but they rely on those things in order for everybody to be treated fairly and for everything to kind of go off without a hitch. But this is very much, okay, because I said hitch, I kind of get like matchmaker vibes. And I'm not saying that you do this, for like fun, but I do think that maybe you've done this for someone in particular, where they're really grateful about this. But I kind of feel like it's almost a boon or a blessing if you set two people up. Because I feel like you would see very deeply. And also, again, you're kind of, you're checking off the list. Taking a list, checking it twice, gonna find out who's naughty or nice. So when you recommend somebody, you're not the kind of person who's like, here's my friend, they're nice, because, they're just like all over the place. But really what you mean is they're kind of a mess. They don't hold boundaries. They, but they're sweet enough, and, they're kind of ruled by expectation, social expectation and approval. That's not the best person to partner with, even though they're just very, very sweet. If you recommend somebody to one of your friends, you see that kind of same energy in you where you're like, no, this is a good-hearted person. This is a nice person, but this is a person who can say no, and who doesn't kind of let the negative in, who who can show up and who is aware of the context of how they need to show up for goodness to thrive kind of, in a context. And so it's kind of a boon. I feel like for you to like set certain people up, and some of you have, or some of you have made a connection. This isn't just in romantic relationships I'm getting. This is also like services. The people who do services for you, and this could be like your plumbing. This could be your electrical. This could be like something more like an artist or like a photographer or, a masseuse or something like really good quality. This is a group that understands quality and maybe produces quality. There's certain, I just heard the word service. It's like a service-oriented quality. I'm not getting craftsman so much, but there's a work energy here as well. Well, maybe. If you are a creative type, I feel like you have a structure to that creativity but you can do both. You dip in and out of that left and right brain. You know that there's a time to kind of explore, but then there's a time to kind of structure and logos and pattern and like build. And you have some kind of pattern or way in which you go about doing that. This is like old reliable and old faithful energy as well. So I feel like you're very reliable if you say that you're going to do something. And you expect this from other people. And I think for some, it's like for some people, they're like, how dare you expect conscientiousness from me? They're surprised by that you would expect that somebody adheres to a code of conduct, the social contract, if you will, or that somebody is not just taking from a space, but you'll kind of, you have a way of doing it though. And I don't think that you really prefer to call people out directly. I think somebody would have to really make it a point that they're off base in terms of reality, or that they feel that they don't want to contribute. They're kind of used to taking, but with a smile on their face or something. And you would just say like, and you're bringing the yams and you're bringing, or something here like that. And you don't even mean it in a certain way, because again, it's very fair actually. But I also feel like the fairness around you, people who don't have a virtue of fair, they appreciate it. They appreciate what comes off of you, but they are intimidated by it because they don't really understand what's fair. And it could be because they think equal, so this is a person who thinks that the quiet person who, like as soon as you say something, should be spoken to the same as the person who is intentionally climbing up the walls and who likes to cause disruption. You speak very differently to both of those people, but it's fair. It's tailored, like there's a kind of tailoring because you see very deeply into people and you see this feels very reality focused. There's a pragmatism where you're not intimidated or scared. I'm not saying all the time like by reality. Some people, what I mean is this is ego defense mechanism territory where they get it's hard for them to admit the truth about who they are and how their actions have really affected people. And because they can't see that, they can't see justice. They can't see fairness equally. Because I'm hearing the word privilege, where that quote that says, people who are used to a certain level of privilege, they feel, and I'm kind of getting that how dare you? I think some people have how dare you speak to me that way? And it's like, fairly? Is this the first time? People who are used to having a privileged position and you are a person who will treat them fairly, they feel that you're a bad person, or they want to think that you're a bad person, but they know that you're not. They know that if they lived in a truly fair world, everyone would be speaking to them that way. But they just feel that, because they feel that they virtue signal enough, or that they have enough money, or like they feel different. They feel that they should get some type of special treatment. But I feel like you kind of hold up that mirror because you're like, no, she's bringing the yams. So you do need to bring the potato salad. It's like, or I'm not, I don't mind facilitating, but I'm not doing everything. And no, you're not bringing napkins again this year, Joseph. Like, it's like you just have this kind of way of doing it, and everybody wants it to be said. I feel like there's certain things where everybody wants it to be said, and they want it to be said in the right way, in a way that's firm and matter of fact, and that nobody's going to argue with, but also that is kind and compassionate. And I feel like a lot of times you're the person who will do that, but it's a thankless job, because I do think that a lot of people from behind the scenes, I'm not saying that they talk shit, but if those kind of more, I'm getting that you ruffle feathers, but you ruffle the right feathers, and you ruffle feathers that people are not used to being ruffled. They're like, oh, did you hear the way that person spoke to me? And it's like, because don't you know who I am, Queen Bee? It's like that kind of energy where they're not used to seeing that aspect of themselves. Maybe their shadow even as well. I think behind the scenes, they'll try to gather people against you in order to get them on side, in order to get them to be like, but people don't feel that way in their heart, and they feel uncomfortable because they don't want to go. And it's not out of fear either. It's out of respect. I feel like there's respect and admiration. And also they were like, these are a lot of the people, they were praying that you would say that to that person because they don't want to be the one to say it, because they're kind of meek and mild. But I think you also give people an opening to be like, well, it's just that you always bring the napkins, you do always bring the napkins. And, the rest of us have to spend money on food and actually cook it and bring it in. And it's not like an equity of labor. And, maybe we could each have a year where we get to bring napkins. Cause maybe I'd like to bring napkins this year, I've just had a rough time. Maybe this is my napkin year, I don't want you to take all the napkin years. And it's kind of selfish that you've been over there. So now you want to say that she's selfish for calling you out on it and that we're all selfish because we all want a napkin year. Everybody wants the napkin year, Joseph. It's like that. So I think that you also allow people, you provide some kind of opening for them to say, well, yeah, actually, I feel that way too, kind of behind the scenes if they so choose. But at the very least, I think that people are actually very loyal to you because there is a sweetness, but there's a functionality. And there's a protectiveness that comes from, but this protectiveness protects the group and it protects the flow and it protects the checks and balances. This is somebody who's very fair to the letter of the law. And yeah, some people might think that you're rigid or that you're a tight ass or that you're this or you're that when you point it out to them, but then they benefit greatly from having somebody like you kind of around. This is also giving me a llama kind of energy. I just pictured that, a llama. So maybe some of you, there's a cozy sweater vibe, but also llamas are very protective, but they're not carnivorous, but you can put a llama in a field and it'll protect your other animals. It runs off predators. And it's also, you can shave it and stuff and make it's such a giver, that's the kind of energy that I'm giving here. You would be better off if you could have a llama. We all would. And that's kind of what I feel is going on here. Plus they're really cute, and that's what I'm getting as well. And you're interesting, and I feel like you're unique and you're different here. For some of you, there's a tie to South America or cozy sweaters or fabrics or maybe that's what people appreciate about you as well. Because everything's done, but it's not pristine where it's you feel like you can't touch anything. It feels cozy. You have a way of kind of making, but it feels not just the environment. It feels like the vibes are still cozy. Because we all have that inner child that actually does like to know the rules, actually does like to know where the boundaries are, and actually does like to know that everybody's being held to the same rule. And I think there's a lot of people who knows that not everybody is capable of advocating for themselves or advocating for other people in terms of boundaries. So when people that's why people get exhausted, I just heard, when it comes to hanging out, where more increasingly a lot of people feel very isolated. Actually, the key is more people like you. More people would hang out, I just heard, if there was more people like you around. Where I think some people that are they're rightfully being restrained in some way or asked to restrict themselves, those are the people that people need kind of protection from. And they don't know that. So they might try to squeeze you out or something, but then I feel like the group falls apart because nobody actually wants to hang out because it's too exhausting because their boundaries just get run over. And it's somebody here is kind of, I feel like there's certain people where they're nice enough, but they just do all these mental gymnastics because they don't want to look at themselves. And so they don't want to contribute to fairness and cooperation. They give lip service like they do, but they don't actually have a value of it. They don't understand it deeply. So everybody feels kind of taken advantage from, and then nobody wants to hang out and the group kind of loosens and the group kind of falls apart. People don't really trust each other, like each other. So this is a group that is kind of the glue and you're necessary. And it's kind of not, actually what's not fair is that all of this is kind of put on you. I think that you can get into situations where you feel really you should be able to advocate for yourself. And I'm not trying to get sucked into rescuer, victim, persecutor. I will say the truth, hey, she said, yeah. She said, how we're a social species. So sometimes even if two people are having a conversation, somebody will kind of look for backup, isn't that right? And you'll be like, yeah, I think so. I think we'll wait till after 6 to eat, it's kind of like that, and I think you're regularly asked to be that person because you you understand the value of doing it. And everybody does, but nobody wants to be that person, kind of. I don't know. But you're very, and it ripples out. It does ripple out. And I think that you actually help people to have boundaries, navigate boundaries, communicate about their boundaries, and to feel comfortable, because you have a strong energy that's not overpowering, and it's not hell-bent on domination. But again, I think there's people who benefit here from being unequal. And but they act like they don't, or something. They act like they don't. And it drains everybody else. And so I think, again, like, there's a way that you help people say, yeah, it's a yes or a no for me. And I said no. You know, like those kind of moments, I feel like, yeah. And then I don't know, it feels like people actually then enjoy themselves more, or they don't walk away from a situation where they feel stolen from or taken advantage from. And I think most people genuinely love you, like really love this kind of structure that you are providing, or that you'll kind of point out. But you also know the reason behind it, the reason behind it. It's not to be a tight ass. It's not for domination. It's because if the reason it's like there's a social contract, the reason that we follow it is there's reasons for it. There's reasons for the laws that we have. And if you connect with the reason, then you don't feel so put upon, and if you value coming together, if you really value other people's experiences, then you kind of adhere, you do adhere to certain, but it's a little give and a little go. And I do feel there's kind of privileged people around you that feel like it should be all go and no give for them, but they want to do the dance of give, but you kind of call it, they're actually where they kind of, I heard somebody the other day, they define privilege as having like money or status or something where they can outsource the hardest part of a process, but still kind of take credit for it or whatever. I feel like there's some level of that where it's like they outsource the hardest, the nittiest, grittiest part of the work. But then they act like that's what they're not doing. So they act like they're still contributing because they are still doing something, but they're not really doing the hard work. And I feel like you will do the hard work, and you kind of make sure you're able to call this out in a really kind of nice, clean way, But I think if somebody's going to push you on it, I think you're going to push back, and you're going to say, listen, I wasn't going to say this to your face, but, or we were trying to kind of say this the easy way and let you kind of catch on to the fact that you need to be more equitable, but you just outsource all the hard labor to us, Joseph, when you bring the napkins, and yes, you contributed, but that just really becomes a shield for him to say, like, I contributed napkins. Any one of us could have gotten napkins. We were all at the grocery store spending $50 on the ingredients for a side dish, like, kind of a thing. So, yeah, this is great. And please don't fall into the traps of thinking that firmness is meanness, because it's not. And, that's kind of a manipulation. It's the last ditch manipulation tactic for somebody who doesn't want to be held accountable. And I feel like you kind of run into that a lot, and it's draining and it's exhausting. And then that person's like, well, I don't understand why you don't like to be around me. I'm so pleasant. And it's like, lack of self-awareness, that's what it is. And so I think that you bump into that, but just know that it is appreciated, especially if you've got like little ones, because this feels very much like parent energy. And I don't think that you appreciate being parentified in a group of other adults. That should be more of a help, in navigating the social dynamics of things. But social dynamics really start at self-awareness. And we do live in a world that's kind of chipped that away, with our attention spans, and everybody has to work so much, and then they're just kind of running around, and the bandwidth is just like really low for those kinds of things, which is devastating for a social species. But if you're not going to have laws and systems and restrictions that value those things over time, entropy is going to more and more set in, and that's what we find. The last thing that I'll say, because you guys know that I get on my soapbox, but if we built a world around people instead of capital, then the world might be different. And this is very much a group that you're just as firm or like just as strong as the people who want the capital. They want the, they got to have the money, all of the money, how much of the money, right? Like how many billionaires do we have like on this planet? Gross. but you are kind of that same firmness, but you're very people focused, very socially focused. And I feel like that's a way that people kind of come at you, is by trying to miscategorize just a firmness and a no, I'm very acquainted with reality. This is what's going on here. And by us caving, it just benefits the privileged. And it could be privileged. You could be talking about the ultra wealthy, or you could just be talking about there's certain people that are just kind of privileged for whatever reason in like the family group. They're just for some reason they are coddled, or they can just bring the napkins. But if Sarah tried to just bring napkins, everybody would be like, can you just believe that Sarah just brought napkins? Like, you know what I'm saying? Kind of thing. So, okay. So that was pile number 1. That's what people are grateful of. And it's probably good for you to hear it, because I do think that a lot of times this can be like just a thankless sort of grueling kind of, nobody thinks to pour into you, like, or at least not adequately, like not at all to the extent, because this is structure. This is bone and sinew kind of energy that you are providing here. And so if people, it's like a little pat on the head, or just a little, hey, thanks. And not that it doesn't mean the world. I think it probably actually does, when somebody just kind of notices at all the shit that you hold down, and they can speak to it at all. Like even just like a little like, hey, I see you, I think probably goes a long way for this group. Way longer than it should. Like if our society was healthy, this group would be taken care of. They would also be like the woman king, like of the group, because that's what this very much feels like. So, okay. So that is pile number 1. Chaos Witch Love. So curious who the offensive napkin person is in Jess's life. Actually, I don't think I have an offensive napkin person anymore. I'm pretty good with my boundaries. I try like now, because I'm like very much approaching, I really can't think of an offensive napkin person that I like hang out with regularly. I sense the napkin person, but also like you have to be really careful not to just judge somebody based on one experience, If somebody brings napkins one time, like it might be their napkin year, like they might really need to bring napkins that year, maybe 2 or 3 years in a row. And that's fine with me as well, but you know what I'm saying? Like the chronically lacking in self-awareness and just, I don't know, that invisible labor, they just require so much invisible labor. And, but yeah, I really can't think of anybody in my life that I like still have in my life. Once upon a time, I had a lot of napkin people. I just had a lot of napkins around me. Okay. Napkin entitlement. Okay. So I'm just going to throw this back up here. If you are joining us, invites themselves to the potluck and brings nothing. So true words, Jess. I know what you say. Yes. We have a storm coming in here tomorrow. Ooh. Winter storm. Yes. Okay. So I'm just throwing this up here. If you're just joining us, we just finished pile number 1, which is the box. And we're moving to pile number 2, which is the temple. I'm just going to compassion. I'm just joining y'all. Welcome. Jess, I've been using your deck. It's so cool. I just want to show you guys. Okay, so Jess, like this gamer deck, look at the sides of this. I don't know if you can really see on the camera, like the red, like shimmer. Cool, right? Fills me with joy. We should all drink hot milk in the winter. It helps. Dude. Okay. So if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's go to pile number 2, the temple. Oh. There we go. Okay. Pile number 2. Oh, wow. Okay, this is a very spiritual group. Okay, I know this is the temple card, but I'm seeing another card from this deck in my mind. I'm seeing the mask. And I think that what people appreciate is that, okay, so first of all, I think like if you remove your mask, and we all have a mask, okay? It's a part of just being a person in a social species in our world. We have like that. It's like think about like the first house in astrology. That's the part of yourself that you show to the world. Right? And that's appropriate. That's contextually appropriate. But I feel like maybe whenever you remove that mask and you really show, there's kind of like maybe what you've been through or like some kind of deep insight that you have when you kind of get deeper with people. I feel like people really have an experience with that, or I think there's been specific moments here. Maybe not that it happens all the time, but I feel like there's maybe, I just got goosebumps, like on my legs. So I feel like there is certain key moments, and it might be with the same person, it might be with different people, because I'm getting at least 3 profound, like the word is profound, where someone's had like some kind of profound realization. And it could be because maybe you revealed like your inner emotions, and it even could be like stop treating me badly, you know? And somebody will have a deep reckoning is like what I'm getting, profound. And it'll like kind of, they'll turn a corner in their soul really fast, where it's like this kind of, like all the pretense kind of drops, and they can't like tell themselves a narrative or a story. And it might even have like a religious experience for some of these people where they're like praying for guidance or like praying for forgiveness. But this also could be like when you drop your social mask, because I know like a big part of mine is I try to kind of keep things light. People don't tend to appreciate going deep, and that's appropriate, right? For like most circumstances. But like if sometimes I don't admit how much I know about a topic, and I know that sounds crazy. Actually, it probably doesn't, because I know like a lot of you guys like probably resonate with this, where I don't know if this is like a woman thing. I don't know what this is, but sometimes I don't want to intimidate somebody. Okay, how do I describe this? Especially there's certain, not all, but there's certain, especially men, but like there's certain people where I feel like they have to feel superior to me in some way. I can just sense it, that they need to feel smarter. And I'm not trying to connect with them. I'm not trying to have any kind of long conversation or, and so I'll just sort of give up, and I'll just be more silent than I will. And I won't let on how much I know about a topic, and I certainly won't correct them. Like even if I am hearing them make a mistake or something, but there's certain times in my life where I'm like, okay, that's like destructive to not correct that or something. And I'll just be like, well, actually like, you know, blah, blah, blah. And maybe there's moments like that where actually that's like really needed, and they'll kind of turn a corner in their soul if they're able to receive it, if they're able to hear it and not just dismiss or minimize what you're saying because it kind of like rocks a certain something here. But it also could be like a profundity of experience, or even like a broadening of experience, where maybe some people put you in a certain category, and then when you open up about your life or your interests or something here, and it breaks the mold, and you are a way that somebody doesn't expect, somebody in that group. Like we were just talking about Jess's game cards. Like, okay, so gamers are smart, and they're, you know, they like sci-fi or something. And if you're like, actually, I don't care for science fiction at all, and I'm kind of a baker, you know, or something like that. And somebody will be like, what? You know, you're not a caricature of like what I think you are in your mind. And you kind of like expand that. I feel like it causes a depth of realization, and it might even unlock a chain of events where somebody can kind of connect back to other interactions or scenarios that they've had with other people, like kind of the way that their brain works and how it's not actually true to reality. But our brains help us to navigate reality, that there's a lot going on, you know? So like our brains love a shortcut, because to process, think about AI. Like we're also aware of AI in our world because it drains so much energy. You know, that's what they're saying. We're going to have literal actual energy grid problems, because to run AI on these questions where it has to consider so many variables and it's spitting out the answer in real time takes so much energy. And the same is true for your own brain. So it likes a shortcut, which is why, you know, we kind of judge people, or our brains like to stick people in a category instead of relating to them just kind of in the moment. But I feel like people have had some kind of profound, and it feels almost, I just heard confessional. Okay, so that's another thing here where maybe some of you have confessed something to someone, and it was profound or changing, and it changed them as well. Maybe it was big for you to confess it, and you felt called to or something. But also people might confess things to you, or somebody did or might want to, or about you. Confession, I'm getting that, like they're grateful for a confession, about a confession. Okay, but also I'm getting that people might have treated you like badly or wrong, or they were intimidated by you. So maybe they try to hold you back. And that could be like in your career, or like where somebody felt in competition and they're like, I don't want you to be seen. This is all, I think, maybe very subconscious, by the way, because we live in a very competitive world. So it's like, well, I don't want you to be seen in a positive light because I feel like that takes something away from me, which I just want to keep pointing out. I just want to keep pointing out that we could choose to structure our societies and our social structures in a different way. That's possible. I'm not saying it would be easy. I'm not saying it would happen overnight. I'm just saying that gets into all of our brain, this kind of competitive mindset, because we live in a very like hierarchical world where there's not enough of things that there could very well be enough of, but it's like, okay, well, I know that I want to get promoted and you're actually right for the job. And so I'm going to intentionally, I just heard weaponize, misconstrue who you are or what you meant or what you're saying. I'm going to malign your energy here. Yeah. I feel like somebody here is confessing their gratitude about you, that and I also think that when they attacked you or did whatever they did to malign you, that you didn't lash out at them. I think that you continued to be like above board. And I think that you continued like to just show how truly yours that position was. You like the whole world benefits when somebody like you gets into that hierarchical position. It could be the thing that changes certain things. I don't know, but it's like they maybe took something away from you, or they did something, they disrespected you in some way. It shows kind of like an ignorance or like something here. And it could be that this person has confessed something to you, because what they're grateful for is, for some of you, there's an overlap with pile number 1, where you provide such a container where somebody feels like they can take their mask off. And maybe they confess this to you that they did to somebody else, a way in which they treated somebody else. And it's allowed them to kind of get something off of their chest, or even to just kind of work out in their mind, like this kind of ripple effect, this chain of events. Like I realized, I don't know, I'm hearing like the chain of screaming, like, okay, well, I was feeling this way. And so I took it out on, my friend, and I should have dealt with it at the source here. I'm kind of getting that power is like a part of this, and hierarchy and structure. It's either, I just heard the letter of the law. Somebody could have weaponized the letter of the law against you, or some kind of, that should not have been, because I'm hearing the letter of the law and not the spirit of the law. So I don't know where you sit in this, because for some of you, you've helped somebody realize the letter of the law versus the spirit of the law, because I feel like somebody has evoked this here. They invoked the letter of the law and it was not in alignment with the spirit of law, or somebody was victimized in this way, or they victimized you. So I feel like with this group, you're either the person that they did this to, and it's really because you are such a bright light, or you're very competent, or, and somebody wanted to take you down out of jealousy and insecurity or something like that. Or you are a person that you provide this kind of container where somebody felt or feels like they can approach you and confess like what it is that they have done to somebody else in order to start a healing process, and in order to start pulling through and sussing through what this means for them, what this means about them, why they did what they did, and to also truly grapple with the extent of the damage, like, okay, well, how this kind of like, because it wasn't just an isolated event. Like if somebody's gunning for a job, that's not just, I got promoted on a Wednesday. Maybe I didn't deserve it, but I got promoted on a Wednesday and now that's all over and done. No, like that's something that affects like the rest of your life, Yeah. And I just heard you ruin his prospects and treat him with sarcasm. And then that's from Pride and Prejudice. So yeah, like I feel like somebody here, there's something to do, like somebody here is like in a confession booth. I'm just seeing them that, and they're confronting their own pridefulness and their own prejudice to do with you, or they're grateful that they can say these kinds of things to you, or that you can help them like kind of work this out, because they want it exercise. They want it like out of them. But going back to that quote from Pride and Prejudice, that was Elizabeth Bennet. Like she's talking to Mr. Darcy because he asks her to marry him. And she says no, because he says, so this is your opinion of me. Thank you for explaining so fully. And so she has an opinion of him, and it turns out that there's like a lot of misunderstandings there. And so then he kind of irons it out, and he kind of confesses to her in a letter. Like he just kind of writes everything out. He's like, oh, there's a quote in that letter where he's like, my motives to you may seem insufficient, but they were in service of a friend, because he did pull his friend away from her sister. And she says, because they were going to get married. And she says, do you think that anything would tempt me to accept the man who has ruined, perhaps forever, the happiness of a most beloved sister? She feels like he ruined her sister's happiness. And she thinks that it was because of their family's not as well off as his family. And so there's something here where it's like, I made you think that. And it could be a love situation because now my ears are like ringing now. But like it could be a love situation because it's like Mr. Darcy and Elizabeth Bennet. So she thought that her sister was being rejected for a certain reason, but Mr. Darcy was concerned about his friend and about getting involved with her family, but he had his reasons, for that. And he explained to her and he tried to teach her how to see him through a different lens, kind of a thing. So I think there's some level of all of these things going on here where you either done that to this person or out of kind of pile number one energy, some kind of structure or teaching or something that you provide, or they did this to you and they're grappling with the guilt and they're grappling with the reality of and the truth and the just not having it fragmented off of any kind of prism or any kind of mirror or anything. But there's also like mask energy. You'd have to remove the mask in order to do that. Yeah. And somebody here, I think there's like a lot of regret here where they regret maybe not removing the mask with you because it's made you think things that it's ruined your chances in some way. It's sabotaged you in some way, or it made you think and believe something about yourself that just is not true. Because actually the reason why this person did this to you is because you're so beautiful, or you are so talented, or you are such a bright light. And that's why they went about sabotaging you. And they were trying to warp and twist your energy, either in their own mind or like even outwards in a social group. They didn't want you to be seen positively, but that was your birthright because that's reality. That's what you actually are. So for some of, and there's, or again, you are a person who's explaining this, that now the scales are not balanced because we do live in a karmic world, and karma doesn't just mean negative. Karma means action, and we should reap the fruits of our actions. And somebody here intercepted that because of their own insecurity and they warp shit, because somebody's karma here was good. And it should have been good karmas coming back in. They put good shit out in the world and good shit should come back, and they put truth out in the world. And so truth should come back. They put respect out into the world. And so respect should come back, but it got blocked by a third party. And I feel like it's this person. They couldn't let you have the good things. And so they intercepted it for their own selfish reasons. They couldn't give you the accolade or the recognition that you deserve or the money that you deserved. They blocked that flow. And then they're in their mind trying to justify it. It's entitlement and justification behavior. So they're really grateful that you've helped them remove the mask in that way, that they feel not good enough. They feel inadequate. They are fear. I'm just hearing like they were consumed by fear and this kind of like empty void kind of energy. And I also just heard an empty drum clanks the loudest. So I think for some, like this person really, they were the one that was most heard, or they were saying too much, like an empty drum can, like there's just this feeling of like, I didn't really mean it. It was empty. It wasn't like anything to kind of, but they were doing that because it's kind of propaganda. They wanted to, they had to clank the loudest in order to get their propaganda out there, just like about you, or like even just in their mind, they were spinning some kind of like web or some kind of story here. Or they interacted with somebody who was like that. Cause again, I'm hearing an empty drum clanks the loudest. So somebody here could have like believed somebody who intercepted you. Or who intercepted the good things that were supposed to come to you. And maybe it's like from them, somebody was supposed to give you that raise, or somebody was supposed to give you support, or just have your back. It's giving pile number one energy. Somebody here should have been in pile number one energy. They should have been able to say, pipe down, you privileged a-hole, or like, because it does feel like whoever intercepted, that it was entitlement. Somebody here felt entitled to something that you had, and so I actually feel like now I'm kind of seeing this fragmented energy of like multiple people kind of crumbling under the weight of who they were and what they did and how they contributed to a certain situation, because they are finally seeing the effects, internal and external. Because I think you also have a mask, and your mask is, but it feels pleasant and it feels like genuine, like you genuinely want good things for people, but you've actually been very wounded and you've actually been hurt, or you've actually been struggling. Because if somebody, I don't know why I keep getting this job thing. If somebody like ruined your prospects, because that's what I'm hearing, you ruin his prospects and yet you treat him with sarcasm, and so like maybe you don't come from privilege. And so, yeah, you need money, you need a raise, and you shouldn't be needy. Spirit is by rights trying to get you into a not needy position, but somebody is breaking it down for you because they're trying to control you, or they don't want to see you big and celebrated and sturdy and therefore not needy, because somebody's trying to control you and other people. It's evil. That's the mundanity, the absolute mundanity of evil. Is kind of what's going on here. So I feel like some people feel like trapped, or they feel stuck, and they are praying. They're praying maybe for the stones is what I'm hearing. The stones to do what they need to do. It feels like solar plexus energy. They're praying to find themselves and to feel strong. But I do actually think that there needs to be, they need to make amends here, right? They need to make it right. They need to balance out whatever they took. They need to give back. I just heard threefold for some of these people. They need to suck the poison out of the room, or actually, I'm more seeing like somebody blowing the good air in. They need to big you up. They need to sing your praises. They need to give you credit, because they spent so much time eroding your energy that they have to unerode it and then actually big you up to the point where they should have just from the beginning. Because it's not just about bringing things back to neutral. You deserved positive things because you brought, some of you are the pile number one energy. Like you created this kind of, I just heard sacred space. But again, because in pile number one, I was saying things like somebody is misconstruing your firmness for meanness, when actually they're the ones maybe being mean. They have a motive for seeing you in that light. And even if that motive is just so they don't have to confront themselves and get real with themselves and hold themselves accountable, so they stop being such a little fart in the group, and they just didn't want to do that. They just didn't want to do that, or they were intimidated, or I just feel like somebody here they felt like poor next to you. They felt inadequate next to you because you were so much, because you were doing so well, or because you're talented or gifted at something here. And so they put on some kind of mask, possibly like they were your friend. And this is the energy that I pick up on the channel a lot. But they're grateful. There's a mask energy here. And it's deeply tied to their spirituality. But somebody here, it's like their spirituality is, I feel like, capped in a way. They're kind of stagnant. And it's not, how do I put this? They're isolated in some way. Even if this person's like around other people, their works are dead. You know what I'm saying? Like the good works that they're trying to do and connect with in the world, because they have to correct this. They have to go, and I'm hearing that Carl Jung quote that says to have branches that reach up to heaven, because that's what they're praying for. They're praying for like growth and like help me to expand or help me to grow. But in order for it to have branches that reach up to heaven, you have to have roots that reach down to hell. And this person, it's like you have to go back. You have to do the hard thing, the thing that you don't want to do. That is the key. That is the answer to you having your branches grow, is you have to make your roots grow. And to have your roots grow, you have to go down into the soil, the darkness, the underworld, you have to do that. You have to fix this. You have to make this right. You have to give back what's not yours. You have to remove your poison from this space, your poison. Like you have to remove your poison from this space. And so for some, you are the person who's guiding somebody to reckon with that. And to do that, it's because you hold this space. But you also, holding a space and making somebody feel comfortable to explore this isn't blowing smoke in their ass. But this is a group who would know that. You don't lie to them and say, oh, this is not a big deal. It is a big deal. If you lie and say it's not a big deal and they don't have to deal with it, you're not in alignment with spirit, but also because this person has to confront it in order to get the things, to get through it, in order to get the things that they actually want, because they went so wrong here in the past. And they know it, and they're right there. And so you don't want to throw them off of the game here, and that's a very selfish thing to do, really. Because you don't want this person to kind of blow up on them, and you didn't put it there. It's that person is being confronted with their own actions, the consequences of their own actions. It's not you. Even if you have to be the person that says, yeah, it is wrong to lie, cheat, and steal. That is absolutely wrong. It's absolutely wrong to warp somebody's personality or their intentions behind their back and to clank the loudest about it because you're trying to propagandize the space. Absolutely, that's wrong. That's sabotaging. And just because you weren't caught doing it, and it feels like they weren't caught doing it by you or by this person that they harmed, and they weren't called out by the group, is what it feels like. And I'm kind of getting that this is maybe a pile number one person where they were doing all this stuff, this thankless job, some kind of, and it could be an actual job because there's job energy that's coming through here, or they were holding that kind of structure, they got misconstrued. And the group is kind of filled with people who need that person, but haven't learned how to kind of stand up for it. So it feels like maybe the group didn't call this person out, and they should have, and now everybody's dealing with a reckoning of like their conscience, but they're also way off base. They're way off track here. There's some kind of poison in a group. Because somebody who should have had more resources and money and stability and therefore more free time or like more energy, because they pour so much, you know, and again, it feels structural and it also feels very depleting in a way that it just feels this person is needed and they know it. And this is maybe you. And they absolutely deserve like lubrication is what I want to say. They need space around them. They need time off. They need a vacation. They need lubrication. They need that for themselves. But I think that somebody's like, well, why should you have that? You're not on the same level in terms of giving. Not at all. Like this is restorative, regenerative for this person. And yeah, so I think that there's a great gratitude here around, again, this mask energy. Like whenever you take your mask off and you're like, I've been the bone and the structure and the sinew for so long and it's been so fucking thankless. And also this asshole is like maligning me behind my back and saying that all these things that I do that are necessary and that everybody depends on are actually meanness or selfishness or evilness, or I'm trying to be dominating when you're doing that, that's your energy with a smile on your face, but acting like what you're doing is not absolutely destructive. That's what it feels like. So this is like kind of a seed. You've planted like a seed here. You didn't plant it. I feel like God planted it is what I'm hearing, kind of like through your energy to bring somebody here to the temple. This person's also kind of cordoned off, it feels like, spiritually speaking. And their prayers are kind of like, I'm kind of getting that they're filling this space and like infusing and kind of marinating into them. That's kind of like the first step here. And that's like, they're kind of cleansing their own energy, you know, before they're allowed to connect with like a heart energy, because they're not safe to connect with like other people's heart energy. I'm not saying that they can't put a smile on their face and have certain manners and say please and thank you. Any, you know, puppet can do that. But like genuinely like being a safe person, I feel like is kind of difficult. Yeah. Okay. A lot of people love you and they haven't expressed it with the Queen of Cups. And also I feel like you're extremely emotionally regulated, because I feel like people would flip the fuck out in this situation, but you didn't. You're very emotionally regulated and you probably just, I'm kind of getting gratitude here. Like you kind of just focused on what you did have and you were still like grateful for that. This group has such a beautiful heart, like genuinely has a beautiful heart. Yeah. Like there's like heart chakra energy. I knew this guy one time that said that he could see like chakras. And I think I've told you guys this story before, because there was this one lady at the table and she was like, oh, I have a really big heart chakra. And he goes, no, actually it's very small. You have it was like one of the lower 2 chakras or something. And, but I feel like this is a group that genuinely does have a very big heart chakra and it's very sensitive. And, but it's not that dripping with empathy kind of thing. I actually feel like that's more of a lower chakra thing, because it's strategic. It feels like it's actually strategic, and it's not coming from the heart chakra, you know, like in whoever that person is. They're just they convince themselves so well. Yeah. And so somebody here's been put in a timeout where they just have to, this is a spiritual experience. Not that everybody is spiritual. All the humans are spiritual, but like, I feel like this person may have an interest in spirituality. They mostly have an interest in cosplaying and, social signaling and, you know, those kinds of things. If the fad changed tomorrow and spirituality was out, this person would be right out with it, you know. That's the kind of energy here. But I do think that they've had a genuine spiritual touch of an initiation, like in terms of like actually touching your energy and actually touching your heart energy, touching your heart energy. And so this person has to see you differently, see themselves differently. And this does have to do with consequences. Like it doesn't just happen in a vacuum. I feel like this person will do something shitty. Like they'll take some kind of swipe at you and they'll think, well, that was yesterday. But it still very much like affects somebody, you know? But then like if you reflect that back and you say, actually, that's not mine. You know, you need to deal with that. Then they'll feel put upon. This is like the privileged person, I think. Yeah. Yeah, they're in their mind about, they don't understand group dynamics. This person really doesn't. They want to control it and they want to stand at the top of it and they want to do all the right things to be at the tippy top of their game, or like they want to reflect and mimic and like all the right stuff, but they don't understand actual group dynamics and like the flow of energy and stuff. They need to go within. So, and that's what they're doing. So, they're having to develop They also don't understand magic. This is somebody who doesn't understand magic. So this could be somebody who is maybe blaming magic for things that are not magical. They kind of view watery energy as magic, like group stuff, social stuff, cooperation stuff, how people can be so plugged into each other. They might think, oh, that's magic. No, it's not. It's just somebody having like social skills. I feel like you just have social skills. Something here that you do and it feels very social. It seems like magic. It feels like, how do you get that result? Because I feel like somebody here is like, I'm doing the puppet thing. I'm doing all the same things, but I don't get the same result. And it's because it's not them. You know, I feel like this is a person here, they're wearing a mask. It's not their genuine solar plexus energy. So what you're doing is you're so connected. You've got traction here, spiritual traction, because you're connected with your soul. This person doesn't know what their soul is. They're just trying to do what you do or what other people do. And they try to like be in fashion just to sit at the top and get praise. It's a leech. That's what this is. This is like they're siphoning energy. And they wonder, and that's the deeper truth here. And they wonder why they don't have the same effect of someone who's pouring energy. Somebody who is like, that's the thing that throws us the actual energy flow, the actual energy dynamics here. And Spirit's trying to hand this person the higher cup through you. And so I think maybe for some of you, this is a deeper appreciation because I feel like you got treated like shit around somebody here. And you didn't need to do that. But I feel like Spirit kind of used you to kind of plant a seed, to kind of wrangle this person. And it does feel like social isolation is what I'm getting, where it's like, stop. Like, because this person, it feels like they're always on to the next, it feels like a trend energy. They're always on to the next trend with their mask. You know, I don't want to be seen as different than the group. You know, I want to be, what's the group praising right now? I'm that. I'll be that. And I think maybe Spirit has caught this person out lying, you know, like where it's like you were that, you know, when that was and they're opposites or something. And it's like, well, which are you? You know, or what accounts for this change? Because sometimes people do change, you know, like in a big way. And it's what's accounted for this change genuinely in this person is that they're a fad kind of person. They're a superficial person. Their personality is pretty superficial. And because of it, they just want praise from the group. Which again, it's a leech energy. It's not a giving energy. And they compare themselves to, I think which I think this is maybe leaking over into pile number 1 or possibly pile number 3. We haven't done it yet, but where you're giving. So they're doing the same things that you're doing. Imagine the pile number 1 person, for those of you who know what I'm talking about, that person who's like planning and they're firm with their speech or something and they say certain things. They are so connected and it comes from a giving space and it comes from a genuine place of concern and cooperation. And flow, knowing like how to tend the flow. Whereas this person's just kind of emptily doing the same processes, but it doesn't like, I'm kind of picturing a riverbank where pile number 1, that firmness is the bank that allows the water, the energy, the cooperation, the flow to flow through it. But this person's being a riverbank out in the middle of the forest somewhere out in the middle of the desert, you know? And actually that's kind of an apt metaphor because Rahu is in the desert and Rahu is that when it's not connected to K2, and you just pursue that Rahu energy, that North Node, that destiny, something that you want to be or accomplish, it just eats and eats and eats. It's the energy of greed and it's the energy of selflessness. And it kind of gets that like, kind of, you know, like the Wands energy where it looks to me like the King of Wands, like it's all zeroed in on the King of Wands, but there's like nothing around him. You know, he's just out there in the desert. You know, it's like, that's kind of what I'm getting. Like this person just only focuses on themselves. And so everything becomes a desert, like a barren wasteland around that person, but they don't understand the energy dynamics. And in a way you've assisted them. And I think they need to repent because they're like, how do I make the shift, but still sit in the chair? That's what they want to do. How do I make the shift, but I still want to sit in the chair? I want to be seen on the level. I want to be, and it's like, you're not, you can't make the shift and sit in the chair because you're not meant to sit in the chair. You need to apologize. You need to repent at the effects that you've had on this group. It feels leeching. And you need to give back and you need to be quiet and in a hermit mode and be humble. And you need to allow this hanged man energy to kind of take place here. And this person didn't want to do that. I feel like it took a lot of energy to wrangle this person. And somehow you've been a part of it. Again, like I said, I think there's more than one person a part of it too, whether or not you can see it. Because some of you, I think, would feel alone in this person's treatment of you and the way that they've stolen from you, taken from you, mimicked you, and I don't know, treated you behind the scenes or warped your energy in some way. But actually, there's another person here because there's a person that they did all this to that they're going to have a reckoning with about, oh my God, I'm a dick. Like, you know, and then there's somebody here who I think provides that safe, secure place, but also will tell them the truth and not be like, oh, it's not a problem. Oh, you didn't mean it. Yes, you did. You absolutely meant it. So why not start there? Why lie to yourself? You're not going to get anywhere with that. Like, actually tell yourself the truth. It's scary at first, but that's the key to everything good, so there's another person here who's like doing that. Like, they're actually holding the space where this person feels like they can confess, even if it's just to themselves. They can confess, like, actually, I did meant to hurt that person. I meant to take away their position, their glory, their money, their accolade, the praise that they rightfully deserved for the work or the creativity that they do. I meant to take that for myself. I meant to leech off of it. Somebody has to admit that to themselves. It's a big thing. It's a big thing, because I think that this person's so caught up in their mimicry of good things that they really truly don't understand that they're the exact opposite of that, and that they have really negatively affected the people who genuinely are that and deserve what they've been working on as a soul behind the scenes, and that they're just at the beginning of that. There's such a chasm between these two people, spiritually speaking, and that's just an immovable fact. That is just an immovable fact. And this person wants to argue with it. They're in denial. I'm hearing they're really, really in denial, because I think this person produces something. What they produce is a mimicry. They produce a performance, they perform sainthood, or they perform sagehood, or they perform what this other person genuinely actually is. And they ruin their chances. How dare you ruin his chances and treat him with sarcasm? Yeah. Or take what's rightfully theirs. And it feels like even the spoils of this person really likes attention. I feel like they feed on it, and so the hardest thing for this person to do would just be go somewhere and just be quiet, go on a meditation retreat. Some of you maybe have shown this person that, or yeah. So there is a lot of gratitude here. And it keeps coming back to this mask energy. You help them see their mask, because this person's mask was like sealed on their freaking face, So for some of you, I feel like you were like you had your feet up there and you were like yanking on it, and you got it off. And it's almost like, you ever see those heartwarming stories where like the scuba divers help to get like the hook out of the fin of a fish or something. And you're like, yeah, I wouldn't go near that. But they're so grateful because they don't have hands, like they couldn't have gotten it themselves. And they're so grateful, even though it probably hurt to get it out of there. They're so grateful. That's the energy that's coming through here of you. And it also, because I'm seeing somebody do that with a shark. That's what I've seen like a lot, is like the hooks in the sharks. And you're like, that shark could eat you on a good day, let alone if you're touching it and you accidentally hurt it too bad. And maybe it's going to think you're trying to bite it. You don't know. You're a different species. You don't speak the same language. But you still took a risk. You got up close to it and you removed the hook, knowing full well that this is kind of a predator that could snap, and maybe did in the past. And there's a lot of gratitude here. And again, I think it's becoming more and more conscious. I think it's like they can't fail to see. They can't help. So they can't help. So there's a problem that they caused here, and they can't help is what I'm getting. That's another thing that this person, because they realize that they've set something in motion. This is also the start of wisdom, because this is a person who just compartmentalizes, and they're like, yeah, I stole from you on a Wednesday. Aren't you over that? They don't understand that theft has continued to compound, because it's like, you should have gotten that promotion, or you should have gotten that award or recognition, and that should have opened other doors for you. It's a ripple. This is somebody who lacks wisdom, and they kind of keep everything compartmentalized to get away with their bullshit, and their entitlement and their justification. But I feel like they can't help but to see. Again, I'm hearing it. They can't help. There's something here where they know that somebody here deserves, and it's either they can't help unless they fully drop the mask. And so Spirit is saying, look at who you really are. You want to say that you're a spiritual person, but yet you've got yourself in a situation where to make genuine spiritual amends, you can't do it, because they have to choose. It's like they have to choose. Do I continue my bullshit, or am I turning this ship around karmically on a spiritual, energetic level? And so Spirit's kind of telling this person, this is tough love, but also like this, at some point in this soul's journey, they'll have to go through this door. They will have to go through this door. They've built this. They've very much built this, but it just feels like they can't get like relief, the relief that they want. It's like they have to do this thing. That's what I was saying at the beginning. Like, they have to deal with like something here in the root. They have to, because of what this is. Something, God loves us all. We are all God's children. This is a person who has harmed other of God's children that God also loves. Because this person's like, why don't you love me? I'll never do it again. In Spirited, like the opening lady, and she's like, I'll never do it again. I'll never I'll remove the citation from the Johnsons. I'll never do it again. No. The damage has been done. And God loves you. I just heard would I could help you. That's another thing from Pride and Prejudice. When Mr. Darcy's like, would I could help you. Goodbye. Like, I can't help you. Spirit's saying, I can't help you because I've been done hearing your victims cry for too long and I'm helping them right now. You owe them money. I just heard you owe them money because of what you took. You owe them time. You owe them praise and recognition on an order of magnitude. And that's what is going to fix their life and their timeline. I just felt like tears. How are you going to make up for this? They can't help. There's something here where it's like, oh, I can't help. But it also could be that the trauma and the lack of trust that this person now has to, because it also, the theft could have been something so personal. Like it could have been like deeply creative or something, or energetic. Like that's who I am. And again, it feels like, okay, so oh my gosh, I always see this from Talladega Nights when Will Ferrell's character walks in. He's like, you just crudely pasted your face on my face. Like that's, remember I told you like this person's mask? Like, I feel like that's what you're like. You just crudely pasted my face on your face. I'm in context here and you're not. And you're taking attention away from me and you're taking, so please understand that we are not the same. The energy behind it is so different. You work for different bosses. You work for very different bosses. So this person needs to renounce their allegiance. Heather, thank you so much for the super chat. Yeah. So this person is kind of stuck. They're kind of stuck on an energetic level. And I think they feel punished by God, but they're only punishing themselves because they could change this at any moment in time. They just have to say that actually, now that I see, I just heard, I was blind, but now I see. I was blind, but now I see. They were blind to it and they were keeping themselves blind to it. This is all ego defense mechanisms because they were focused on themselves and what they wanted. It's me. And it's greed and it's, I want to accomplish this. And I really feel like there's nothing that satisfies this person. There's nothing that satisfies. And isn't that just the start of the spiritual journey, right? There's nothing that satisfies. And so you go looking for the thing that does. And I feel like that was too loud. That they hit pay dirt. I was trying to hit the pay dirt, but that was a little too much pay dirt. Maybe that's kind of what it was like, hard and loud. And, this person like really, that didn't actually hurt though. Actually, I feel like that might be something that's going on here too, where like, have you ever done something to yourself and you're like, ow, but you just kind of say it reflexively. It didn't actually hurt. Well, I mean, it hurt a little like afterwards, but it definitely wasn't like sharp and painful. I feel like there might be something here where Spirit's like, you're not actually hurt. You know who's actually hurt? The people you did some weird, nasty shit to. That's who's actually hurt in this situation. Okay. And it's because you're so merged with your own selfishness. What is that from? Divorce story. So for some of you, there's like some kind of, again, like divorce. You're so merged with your own selfishness that you don't even see it. Like, it's something here like that. So the gratitude here is on another level. Cause like I said, I feel like this is a very spiritual group. It's kind of giving bodhisattva. But I feel like this would be unconscious if you were the person kind of maneuvered. I think that you would just be like, I try so hard, I give so much, and I just don't get very much in return. That doesn't seem like a state of fairness. Some of you could have even doubted your spirituality. I'm telling you, this has had a deep, profound spiritual effect where like, I think that whoever this person hurt, which very well could be you, they think it's God. And I don't think that maybe they blame God. It's not like a blaming God kind of energy. It's just like, maybe there isn't fairness in the universe. Maybe you can work really hard and you can just never get what it is that you deserve. It's that kind of thing. Maybe karma isn't real. It's that kind of thing because I know how much I've given or my body feels it, at the very least, or my energy feels it. And I haven't, really gotten the recognition. And then meanwhile, they see this person over here gaining and gaining and gaining. And it makes them feel that there's no fairness in the universe. But we do all have free will here and everybody's kind of going through their own story. So it is kind of playing out in a spiritual field. But so that's the kind of thing where it's like, this person, how are you ever going to undo that? That you've gotten in between somebody and God and you've made them think that your actions, your selfish actions behind the scenes were their karma. That's a hard thing to fix. Somebody's relationship with God. The only thing you can do is remove yourself, is say, I'm sorry, say exactly what you did behind the scenes, give what you've taken and step back and allow the natural relationship. That's what has to happen here. Just get out of the way and allow the natural thing. And that's what's going to heal that person's heart. Allow God to move around this person. Stop seeing it and sabotaging it and calling yourself a good person. right? So the gratitude here, going back to this, the gratitude is on such a different level with this group. It's on a spiritual level. You were the little scuba diver that swam up to the shark to remove this like deep hook, but it feels like the hook metaphor, it's like the mask that's just so fused on this person's face because they're so merged with their own selfishness. And they actually believe, this is the person who believes they're bullshit. They actually believe that they're that superficial personality, but it changes, you know, the wind will blow and the fad will change. And then they just want to fit in and they want to be seen as the ideal, or they want to be seen, but it's not enough for this person just to be seen as a part of the group. They want to be seen as superior. They want to be seen as the teacher of the group. So even though there's a group of people, say, remember like sourdough starters and stuff, like that was really big during the pandemic. There were people who were doing sourdough. Those people didn't have, it wasn't glitz and glammy. It was just, that was a part of their routine. And then everybody kind of started getting in on it. And so it's like a person who got into it, like in the COVID thing, didn't know it, didn't think about sourdough a moment before. And then they want to seem like they're the teacher of the sourdough stuff instead of just pointing to the people who helped them, you know? They can't ever just be a student. Like, you just learned about this. Like, sit down, you know, calm down. Because they think that, oh, I get it logically and so I can transform it. But it's like, you see what I'm saying? And this person has a lot of amends to make. And they have a lot of bullshit that they have to see through themselves. It also feels very tight. Their energy feels tightly wound, like just really like just trying to kind of keep it together because they believe it so much, you know? So the gratitude, going back to that, is on a spiritual level. Bodhisattva. Forgive them, Lord, for they know not what they do. Because I think they may be grateful for your forgiveness. Because I think as you've kind of worked through what has happened to you on the back end, I do think that you have reached compassion level here with this, where you kind of understand why they did it. You know this person feels insecure. You know that maybe they got a lot of pressure on them. They have to feed their family the same as you have to feed your family. And I think that they're just feeling like very grateful in regards of that. But there's another group here, and I want to point it out, that you could have gone through this yourself, but then you're also maybe holding the container for somebody here to process through this, to just kind of come clean about what they did to somebody else. And they feel very grateful for that opportunity here with you. So is there anything else? Oh my gosh. Yeah, this death energy and the 10 of Pentacles, of death energy of something stable, something, somebody here could have even prayed for the ending of a relationship, or they tried to sabotage a relationship or a business or some kind of stability here. And I think that they have to kind of let go because they felt poor. They felt like needy, and they felt like they don't like seeing people in their power. And what I mean by that is they don't like that you can say no to them. If they want something from you, or if they need something and they have to ask you, they just don't like respecting people. That's what it is. I just heard call it what it is. You don't like respecting people. You don't want them to be able to say no with something that rightfully belongs to them. This like little seed energy. Maybe they want you to use it in that way. Maybe you don't, you know? So it's like, that's what it is. That's what it is. But then I feel like for some of these people, they cosplay as a man or the woman of the people. It's really gross. Yeah, they need to be the hermit is what they need to do. And they need to go within. And also, I think this person maybe wants to use or borrow. They use weird words for this. It's theft. But they want to kind of take from other people. And it's not, you know, again, we're a social species. There's a flow of energy. We all teach each other things. This is beyond that, what goes on here with this person. But I think they try to tell themselves that what they do is what other people do. And it's just not. This is a person who, as a remedy, and remedies, keep in mind. So we think about that. We want everything to be in equilibrium and balance. Well, when you're sick, you got to take medicine. Like if you have to take an antibiotic, that's going to get your system way out of whack, because it's way out of whack in one direction, you know? So you get it way out of whack. That's the healing experience. And then you can kind of focus on balancing out. But first you got to suck the poison out. That's what I'm getting. So this person has to be out of whack. They have to choose it. And I think there's a sacrifice here of like kind of giving back what doesn't belong to them. And they also need to be this hermit energy where they just work with their own energy, because this is a person who needs to get real and get honest about what's theirs and what's other people's, because they just believe they're too prone to believing their own lies. And this is somebody who, this is like a inverted empathy, because they have empathy. You know how I'm like saying, like for a lot of empaths, you don't know what's yours and what's not, but it feels more from like so I need to help you because I feel out of sorts. So let me just give and give and give and give and give. With this person, it feels like they can't tell who's energy in regards of what they're stealing and what they're not, because they don't want to know what they're stealing. You know, they don't want to know. They don't want to make amends. Oh, yeah. And then Nor just said, I've noticed that some people do evil things and then turn around and say, but you did this too. It's baffling that you think your nonsense came from me doing something which I did not do. Yeah. And you do this too. But again, context is important because maybe you did something, but it was correct in that context. And it's not correct in that context. But it's like, it shows a very tit for tat mentality, which is not the same thing as equality. It's a very transactional mindset. Oh, well, people do this, or you did this too. Yeah, but contextually, it might be different. And their karmas behind the scenes are different. And somebody who has to learn how to stand up for themselves and somebody who just goes around and all they think of is themselves and they just steal from other people. Those are two people with very different karmas and they can take the same actions. And that first person who needs to learn how to stand up for themselves and they're kind of getting their sea legs, they maybe overshoot sometimes. And yeah, it was wrong. But then you hitting them over the head with a bat and saying you should never have done that. Like that's really going to run them back in their shell. Because they're trying to seek out that equilibrium and what they're doing is actually correct. And the other person is the one that's still so stuck in their bullshit that they're not even trying to because that person has to get way meeker and way more mild and way less assumptive, about certain things. And that's what I'm seeing from this person. They need to go away somewhere. They need to get into their shell. They need to be alone and they need to understand who they are and what is theirs. And because they got their hands in everybody else's pie is what I want to say. And they feel that that's just, they don't like seeing other people have good things because they feel like it should be them. And they're not even at all curious about what went on behind the scenes or what that soul had to live through in order to gain that ability or knowledge or, whatever it is, house. They don't want to know. They just see somebody have something and they think, well, that's not fair. I should have that too. And that's not, so this would be a kind of person where you don't really want to talk necessarily these spiritual concepts because they'll just warp it, Well, what about balance? This is a person, and it's genuinely a part of their process, but they should shush it first. They need to, they rely way too much on other people. They need to philosophize. They need to marinate because there's a behind the scenes sort of foundation. Oh, I'm also seeing the Fool energy from this person, which the Fool is, it's kind of like, a bit they're focused, they're not focused on like responsibility and so the Fool for me, it's like Uranus energy, and Uranus can be that spark of like inspiration. So somebody who, so the thing about the Fool, it's that beginning energy, right? So if you look linearly at the major arcana, the Fool starts things off, right? If you look through the eyes of wisdom, this becomes a circle. And so no Fool is ever just purely the Fool energy. So you can be a beginner and you can be a master, but in like different arenas. And so this is a person who maybe is very masterful in a certain arena, like their job or maybe their relationships. But I feel like when it comes to spirituality or when it comes to something that you're good at and that they wanted to take from you, and it could even be just, again, it feels like leadership maybe of some kind. They got hit with some kind of Uranus energy via your energy. And it was an answer. Your energy was an answer. But instead of, because they're the Fool and they didn't realize that they're the Fool, they don't have a foundation to plug that into. They don't have the context. Whereas if you received that same insight, you have such a foundation that it would have plugged in and it would have been very holistic. And you wouldn't have then done something rash, or selfish with it. You would have let it marinate and you would have integrated it into your already there understanding because you are a master in this arena where this person is just a Fool. I feel like they're a master in some other arena, and they're maybe used to being confident and moving like a master. But this is why in spirituality, what is so harped on and emphasized is what? Beginner's mind, being the student. That's also called humility because this person needs some. They need a hefty dose of humility just shoved right in there. Chew, chew, chew. That's what they need. They don't want to be humble. They don't want to slow down. They don't want to be the student. And they don't want to acknowledge when they're the student, that there's another master in the room in that arena. Because maybe they're a master in somewhere else and they're like, well, I'm a master too. And it's like, okay, so then let it be that. Why can't you give this person props? Why can't you sit down? Why can't you give this person their flowers? Why can't you say, I admire them and I'm trying to work up to being a master, but I wouldn't in my right mind or heart or spirit try to be a master before I'm ready, because that takes away, that pollutes the airspace too. But you have to have wisdom to see all that. And this person doesn't. So anyways, I'm going to get off my high horse about this person. This is the kind of energy that I don't appreciate, because this is the person who makes it harder for people who are on their path, you know, and I'm sure that's like karmic and obstacles, and there's certain lessons that are being learned here. But so the gratitude here goes very deep, because you planted a seed, basically. You did that initially, but I also feel like there was some kind of spiritual test. Like there's something here that kind of rubs this person the wrong way about your energy, where they feel less than you just because you're a master in something that they want to be a master in, or they wish that they were like that, but they're just not. Maybe there's a certain level of acceptance here. Or for some of these people, they just really, really lack self-awareness. The level of self-awareness that this person has is, this trend is on fashion. And you know what I love? You know what my hobby is? It's being admired. So I go where the trend goes so that I can be admired. That's what they love. They don't love, gaucho pants or sourdough bread or EDM music or like whatever it is. They don't love that. Like they love whatever gets them attention, kind of is what it feels like. And if the fad changed tomorrow, and there's something here where you're not like that in that arena. In whatever this arena is, whether it's EDM music or sourdough starters, like that this person is trying to kind of be on your level immediately. It's annoying. This person annoys people, and they just sort of, it's obnoxious. This is an obnoxious energy. The root of the energy is just pure obnoxiousness. And so they're like, I just don't understand why people don't respect or admire me, or why it doesn't have the same effect. Maybe you would understand it if you were in a student mode and not trying to rush to sit at the front, kind of a thing. So okay, I keep trying to tie this back around to gratitude, but I feel like we've done that enough, and I feel like you probably get it. But this is a very deep group, and there's like spiritual energy going on, and that's always hard to kind of contain or like put into words. The teacher appeared when I was ready, and I studied for a long time. I asked a ton of questions. Yeah, and it's enjoyable too, and the pressure is off, because that's another thing that the master understands: consequence. There's something here of like, oh my God, forgive me. I did not know what I do. I didn't realize that by me not having the knowledge that I claim to have and just spouting out stuff into, what I thought was the void, there was a chain of events that could be set off here, like based on that, but you'd have to care about other people, you'd have to have empathy, knowledge, foresight. You have to have the pile number one energy kind of, to be able to have that effect, but then this person wants to kind of turn around and feel sorry for themselves. Is the kind of thing. Okay. I'm going to throw that back up there. So that was pile number 2. If you are joining us now, you are joining us at a very good time. We just finished pile number 2, and we are getting ready to move into pile number 3. A VC. Oh, EDM music mastery. Interesting. Oh. Aw. Will the person that's been screwed over get other opportunities? Yeah, I think so. That's a good question. Hold on, what am I feeling here? I'm getting like a sustained energy. I feel like that person's always like going to be sustained in a way, but they deserve much more than that, Because I do feel that, yeah. But I feel like this is an agreement. I feel like this is kind of bodhisattva energy. It feels like there's a sustained energy where they, yeah, because I'm hearing like without consequence, like other people's actions have no meaning, and other people have taken here and they need to give it back. Yeah, because I'm hearing energy cannot be created or destroyed. So like there just is the energy, and somebody's taken too much and they need to give it back. Spirit is not, because spirit would have to take from other people here. I do feel this person knows enough not to do that. They know better than to do that. It can be catastrophic when the community leans on someone who is cosplaying the pillar of the community. Yeah. And I don't know that the community is leaning on this person, to be honest. I feel like people kind of see through it in some kind of way. Or I don't know that they're leaning on it. It feels like it's about attention for this other person. For whoever that is. Yeah. Okay. So if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's do some compassion here. That energy just... Alex is ready to move on from pile number 2. Aw. Okay. I just need my gloss. I heard this song. I'm not even going to try, okay, in French because I don't speak French. And I think I already butchered that language last week in a live stream. But there's this song. It's like basically, I think it translates to like, I love dance. So for some of you, like there could be gratitude around like dance or like the way that you dance or something. Or, oh, I also just heard from Garth Brooks, I could have missed the pain, but I'd have had to miss love dance. Yeah, it's my life. It's better left to chance. I could have missed the pain, but I'd have had to miss love dance. And also there's like two distinct cultures there because it was like from French to like country. And so I feel like for some of you, like it could be you and this person come from different cultures. There was something about your culture that you shared that helped this person put something in perspective. But it feels like there was a bit of a tangle here, a bit of a rodeo. Okay. Okay, so I'm hearing another Garth Brooks song. I think it's called Rodeo. But it's like, and they call the thing a rodeo. It's like, yeah. It's the Bronx in the mud. It's the steels in the mud. They call the thing a rodeo. Yeah, it's like, it's all the gory stuff, you know? It's like the wide in his knuckles, the gold in the buckle he'll win the next go round. Like it's somebody describing why they love rodeo. But also it's like, ain't no woman, flesh and blood, it's that damned old rodeo. So, somebody here could have been like kind of a wild card, you know, just somebody that just likes to get in there, the blood pumping energy, the sweat, the kind of proving themselves a bit, but they're not very relationship minded. But it feels like maybe you've had an interlude or a tangle here with this person. So what's the gratitude? It could be that you were this person. You were a bit of a wild card and you're like, you know, maybe there was cheating here but it's ain't no woman, flesh and blood. It's the pumping, the blood pumping energy, you know, the like the proving of yourself, something, you know. So I think this person, again, it's like they're grateful for the interlude. Even if you hurt this person, they're saying, I'm grateful for that interlude because I could have missed the pain, but I'd have had to miss love dance. Like there's still love. And also this person's like, it's my life. It's better left to chance. I could have missed the pain, but I'd have had to miss love dance. It's my life. Like, and I think, like having this interlude helped this person. Oh, I just felt like, I felt, like the tingles, but it felt like in my back and it felt like angel wings, kind of like, helping this person elevate above something here. It also made them realize like, it's my life. And it's, I'm seeing something from from the Little Mermaid where she's like, but daddy, I love him, kind of. It's like that kind of energy. Like, I know that he's a human and I'm a mermaid. Or also I'm hearing that Taylor Swift song, but daddy, I love him. You know, where it's like, I know that he's, what'd she say? Like, if all you want is gray for me, then it's just white noise because it's my choice. Like somebody here needed to learn that it's their choice and that they don't have to choose things based on like just staying inside the lines. They can choose what they want and that they can go on a journey and that they can learn a lot in like a short period of time, even if it is gory and kind of messy. And I feel like that's kind of what maybe went on here. So there is some kind of, yeah. And also I've just noticed like the moon energy, which to me, this kind of, I don't know why this little like thumbnail moon, the sliver of the moon kind of reminds me of like Lilith, like dark moon Lilith. And so it could be that there's been some type of like affair energy because Lilith can be, when you have like overlapping Lilith in a chart, it's like somebody that you think is like a partner, you know, forever person, but you can destroy like actual relationships, like your actual soulmate relationship, your actual partnership relationship, because you think that Lilith energy. I'm not talking about the mythical Lilith. I'm talking about the point, the black moon Lilith in someone's astrology chart. When somebody kind of bumps up against that energy, you can actually ruin a soulmate relationship, whether it's a platonic soulmate relationship or actually like a romantic one, whether that's a marriage or something that had the potential for that. But I feel like, yeah, there is kind of a gratitude. For some of you had a child with this person, or like there was a child, so there's like gratitude for that. Yeah. It feels like there was maybe even something small that was offered here that there's gratitude for. So, okay, let me just kind of get in here. Oh, yeah. Something ended very badly here. I could have missed the pain, but I'd have had to miss love dance, right? With the 10 of Swords. And I think it may be there was like a really rough experience, but it like split something apart, or it revealed a place inside of a person that was like very torn and very split. And I feel like it kind of goes back to childhood. And again, if there was a child produced, then I feel like the child is very helpful. Not that it's a child's job to nurse a parent or something like that, but I feel like just being around this child or seeing this child kind of grow up is helping to make sense of their childhood. Not that the child's doing the work or even aware that this is going on, but also maybe just seeing the innocence of a child or something like that. Like, I don't know, it's somehow helping a certain situation. This feels very dark. Like something here that happened, like was a dark, dark time. But it initiated a process that feels like kind of moving through the shadow, moving through the woods, trying to find your way through the woods. That was like kind of actually very helpful. And maybe even there could have been an affair here, but like somebody here's like protecting a commitment, actually protecting a marriage. So it could be that something went on here, maybe earlier on in someone's life. Then they actually like met somebody and got married, but they are very protective of this commitment. They're very protective of that because of what they went through. They know how precious it is. They know what it's like to I just heard be on the other end of it. Oh my gosh. Yeah, there's a very painful cycle here that somebody was really clinging to, and Spirit offered this higher cup, but the higher cup was a tower is what I'm getting. Yeah, the higher cup was a tower, because I feel like whatever this was, somehow, some way, in a way that might not make logical sense, or you might not understand, or they might not understand, but actually I feel like they kind of do understand it. Whatever this tower energy was, it broke a cycle. And I feel like it was a cycle where they kept going back to an abusive ex or some kind of abusive relationship dynamic. And if it's not the same ex, it's like they choose the same kind of partner unconsciously. They don't know why they're attracted to. Oh, okay. So I'm getting that there's a kind of attraction that this person would go in for, but it's the kind of attraction where like, okay, so there's say like with food, there's like two different kinds of enjoyment. I've really been learning this a lot because I've had to navigate some like digestional issues as of late, but I feel like I'm kind of learning and I'm getting that kind of under control. But there's a kind of like, you can enjoy food in the mouth, right? Like with your taste buds where you're like, oh my gosh, like buttery potatoes, like, or like something or like chocolate caramel chews, but then like when it gets into your body, you don't enjoy it because there's some kind of effect, that it has. But there's another kind of enjoyment of like, I eat food that then like makes me feel good. Like I feel like I could take on the world, after eating something here. And it doesn't necessarily taste bad, but it's like a different kind of experience. And I think there was some kind of way that somebody was going in for that in relationships. And it was this abusive pattern that they didn't know how to get out of. They didn't know how to make sense of it. But I feel like there was something about the catastrophe of this that was this tower energy. It was like very enlightening. And it was like the higher cup, or like in order to get this person to stop looking at their choices here. These even could be souls that they've consistently reincarnated with, where it's like they always end up with one of these three souls, but it's like they're like, I'm hearing if you keep doing what you've always done, then you'll always get what you've always got. And so there needed to be a higher level of understanding or knowledge. And I feel like it was through this kind of hard experience that somebody did learn that, or like somebody kind of went through that. Yeah. The Four of Pentacles. I feel like somebody here is like really, I just heard disgusted with themselves. And it could even be for some of you like listening to this where you're like, I don't want that to be the gratitude that this person has, because somebody here is like, no, like they're sad and they're feeling like they wanted it to be more than like what it was. They wanted, I don't know. They might be upset about the wreckage that has been caused here. Maybe there's overlap with pile number 2 for some here in this group, or that I'm kind of talking about, where they're like, they wanted it to be more, but it's unearthed something here. Hold on. They're telling me to flip it in my mind. Like, what if I'm reading into the person who like did cheat or something and they caused this wreckage? Oh, well then I feel like this would hold true. Sorry. I was just channeling and then I'm like, does this make sense? And then maybe it didn't. So I don't know. Cause I feel like somebody they feel defensive about this being the state of things, about this being their legacy, what they've left behind for somebody to be grateful for is the carnage that they've kind of brought into their life. And it's like, I'll take it from here. I'll do the work of the the healing and the enlightenment and the making sense of it. You brought the destruction and the chaos, and I've done the making sense of it. I know why you did what you did. I understand it now. And because I understand it, that you are feeling a type of way, or I don't know, because I in some way understand it, I can forgive you. I just heard that. I can forgive you. I can have compassion. I can hold the space, for both of us, to be human. But it also feels like the boundaries it feels separated. It feels like there has been a family maybe separated here, and maybe there's a child like here in between, but it's like, but we are separate, and I still have love for you, but it's like a kind of friend love, and we come from two different places, or we want two different things, or, this ending, it's profound, and it's a permanent ending here between, or like there could be some kind of child that, maybe came between the two of you. Yeah. The Wheel of Fortune. Because it also feels like this painful ending that came off of this leveled this person up. Like in some way, it feels like on a different timeline. They got a higher timeline. And I think that perhaps they have gotten or will get like a higher cup. And it's not the same cycle that's been playing out that feels kind of abusive. Yeah, there's stability here too. There's stability. There's like a newness, and it's going somewhere. And it also allowed for there to be space for them to process their fears, their illusions, their emotions. Something that they went in for was an illusion, or they did this because of an illusion. They cheated because of an illusion here. It just feels like somebody here has had to process an illusion. And I think for somebody here, they've had to process an illusion about this partner that they thought was the emperor, they thought was their soulmate, but actually they can see that this person was cheating, or this person is just the emperor wannabe. They're the Four of Pentacles. They're stuck, maybe financially. But because of that, there's a real, it's like, I think maybe this person, whoever cheated or something, or they cast an illusionary spell is what I'm getting, like about themselves, like, oh, I am the emperor, but really they're the Four of Pentacles. And I think this person maybe pretended like they had more money than they did, or they thought that how much money they had was a problem here. And that's maybe in some way why they cheated. That doesn't make logical sense, but I feel like there's an emotional component to that. But the problem isn't that they don't have any money. The problem is that they're so preoccupied with that in a certain way, from a certain viewpoint, that they're blocked off at the head and they're blocked off at the heart. And they're stuck. They're stagnant. They're not moving where they should. They're not moving in the way that they should. They're not feeling in the way that they should. And they're not connected with spirit and like kind of thinking in the way that they should. It's kind of shut their entire system down. And yeah, there is some kind of justice movement here. It also could be that maybe somebody jumped in like schmegully or something, like got involved with somebody for the illusion of it and for the money. But then I just heard 1 for the money, 2 for the show. So they jumped in with that, and now something has come crashing down. There's been some kind of tower moment where somebody was like discovered. This could be not in your situation. This could be somebody maybe cheated on you and then tried to pretend that that was something so that they didn't get repercussions. They weren't looked at as like, wow, you just destroyed your family over that. Aubrey, thank you so much for the super chat. Oh, I must leave the chat, but please know how much your energy. Oh, I'm so glad. Thank you so much, Aubrey. Have a good day. Bye. So, yes, I do feel like there's been some kind of like decision or court case or something where this person was maybe stripped of their money is what I'm getting. Like if they try to jump in with somebody in order to produce an illusion or something, I feel like that's kind of come crashing down here as well. There's been some spiritual, I don't know, like interference is what I want to say. Yeah, because spirit is like trying to get somebody here to take the high road and to kind of think about, there's a decision being made here around a relationship and about some kind of fulfillment. Something here, it's an illusion. Something here's an illusion. Yeah, somebody here was really, it feels like an abusive relationship pattern. Somebody here was maneuvering behind the scenes in order to try and leverage something that they felt that they had, in order to seem like a wish fulfillment, or to like seem like that they were offering a wish fulfillment. But there's a lot that they're hiding here. And somebody walked away from it, even though there's a lot of love here. I feel like somebody still like walked away because I think they were just feeling anxious. Or this could even be like if there was cheating, it's like, well, I can't trust you. And I want to trust you and I do love you, but I'm nervous all the time and I can't be nervous all the time every day in my life. I don't deserve that. I can't function that way, so I have to go. Or I feel now somebody else here is feeling anxious and feeling nervous and waiting for their ships to come in. Like, when are they coming back is what I'm getting. When are they coming back? When are they coming back? So this is an interesting one. I would be curious about the situation that people are asking about here. Like, well, what's the gratitude? Because it almost feels like something bad happened. And they're like, I wonder what they're grateful for in me. But I feel like they want me to big up their energy. Like, because there is a lot of love here. And I think that I could maybe mention the things that this person loves. It feels like there's a lot of energy. Like, there's a lot of go-getter stuff. Like I don't know. There's something about the pulling apart of like the actual person and the illusion here. Also, again, I'm getting like the two houses. Like, there's a separation here. You're in different places, and that could be that you guys were living together, trying to make it work, and now you live in separate homes. Or this could be somebody here is like moved like a ways away here, and that made somebody else here feel different. But I feel like they're trying to, I don't know, maybe ask themselves like, well, but what do they like about me? You know, like, well, what are they grateful for? Like, well, what do they like about me? Because maybe that's a place to start or something, you know, or like, was this too bad? Like, did I ruin it? It feels almost like the subtext of asking about the gratitude here in this situation. But they're grateful for the loss. That's what, I'm so sorry if that hurts and that's not what you want to hear. Or for some of you, this might be your energy, but they're grateful for the loss. And because there's some kind of something that they were trying to apply the same approach, or some kind of approach that's like traditional, where they maybe were told that they need to keep investing in a space and that eventually it'll turn to like a sanctuary energy. Or maybe that they'll have, you know, it's like, oh, well, you're having relationship problems. Meanwhile, I feel like there's some kind of abusive dynamic that's kind of going on here. And there's different kinds of that, you know, there's physical and, you know, there's the big ones that we think of, but there's also emotional and financial and, you know, things that can be a little harder to spot. Or like if you try to tell another person, they can, you know, be like, well, I don't know, maybe he didn't mean it, or, you know, whereas if someone striketh you, you know, it's like very few people are going to be like, maybe he didn't mean it, like, you know, kind of a thing. But yeah, so I feel like it made them try something different. It made them try something new. It broke them out, broke the mold. And I just heard Broken Open by Elizabeth Lesser. And that has come out in personal readings recently, or somebody's. So maybe that's for you, whoever that was. But yeah, Broken Open. That's what they're grateful for. That and for some, they left some kind of traditional way of thinking or religious indoctrination that was really monopolizing and keeping them in a holding pattern is what I'm hearing. And they've started to blossom and they've started to grow, and it's changed their fortunes here. It really has, in love, but also possibly in abundance and like in terms of money, because they were in some type of holding pattern. For some, this could have been a person that was in like pile number 2 energy, or something happened. Oh, somebody just asked, like, is the pile number 2 person going to like get what they deserve or something? I feel like yes. Like if they cut away from like that cycle and they kind of put it to bed, and they learn what they need to learn, and then they kind of go up in this energy to like a higher timeline, and it feels like to a higher soulmate, to somebody who's healthier in their energy. A healthy love is what I'm hearing. But also I'm getting this is like intertwined. A healthy love and healthy finances are like kind of intertwined, because it feels like nobody here is okay. So you probably heard like there's like financial advice where it says one house, one spouse. Like that's really good financial advice, because those are, you know, big things that can really, really drain your finances. And I just feel like because there's no weird shit going on, there's not the abusive relationship dynamics, there's no cheating, there's no somebody having insecurity and then trying to not deal with that directly, and putting that on their partner and having there be a bunch of weird energy that then starts to kind of wibbly wobbly the security of the relationship and also the security of the money. It's intertwined here. So because they're not dealing with somebody like that, they can actually have something. They can actually build and grow and have stability. And because it feels like they're in a healthy love where whatever the insecurities are, for some of you, it's not cheating. There's like an insecurity here around money or like being the emperor or something, but that needs to be dealt with at the root and not swept under the rug or made excuses for, because that's the kind of thing that's going to start wibbly wobbly underneath the foundation of a relationship and of money. They're intertwined here. Yeah. And also the 10 of Cups, like this happy marriage, this happy relationship, happy family, happy home. Yeah. Yeah, because they started to look at something differently. I think this person, okay, because we've got the 6 of Pentacles here, and the 6 of Pentacles is not Libran energy, right? There is a kind of harmony in this card. There really is. But it's not equal. So I think in the past were thinking about, they like to be the giver or something, but and this was like the foundation of some kind of I think, abusive dynamic where they were getting taken advantage of. And they would they always had to be the forgiver, like, oh, well, it's okay. And so somebody would just take everything. They would take every drop of like goodwill, or maybe there's like a financial thing. And this person was like, well, I'm such a giver. And I think that they were looking at that like, well, it's good. I'm supposed to be a giver. And that feels intertwined with, where's that Five of Pentacles energy, wherever it went to, that traditional energy that was actually causing them to be in a state of lack that they didn't know about or didn't know how to deal with. So it's like they were trying to solve a problem from inside the state of consciousness that gave rise to that problem, when they actually have to poke through and out of it. And so there was some kind of tower moment here that seems very bad and very destructive and very hard, but it actually popped them out of that level of existing, because their role in that, which I think was the giver and somebody who's ever benevolent and ever giving, and they have infinite patience for fuckery, and bullshit behavior, and somebody else really not bringing the same sauce to the table and saying, when I have a problem, I deal with it on my own. And it's my job to deal with that because I'm the cause of the problem here. And again, like Noir said this more eloquently, I think it was in pile number 2, but it was like when somebody says, oh, but you do it, and it's like, I don't know, if the person who's in the giving situation here and kind of holding everything down morally or to do with money decides that they want to sit back and put their feet up, and this person's like, well, you're doing it. It's like, you're a mess right now. Why are you comparing yourself to me? You are having a root level issue that you need to be dealing with that at the root. So you don't rest. Now is not the time in your cycle where you should be resting. And that would make us equal partners, right? It's not, I do the same thing that you do, and that's somehow considered equality. That is asinine. It's whenever I have a problem, I deal with that at the root. And whenever you have a problem, you deal with that at the root. And that's two people who are actually matched to each other. Those are two equal partners. But your rhythms and your schedules might not match up on that front, where it could be, it's like, yeah, I'm holding everything down, but don't let me hold it all down for too long here, because that's not the deal. The deal is, yes, aren't you grateful that you have a strong partner that has their shit together? But when you don't have your shit together, you don't sit with your thumb in your ass, you deal with it. And then you get yourself up to where you can hold it down for a while, and it's like, hey, I'm working over here. Yes, of course you are, because homegirl held it down. And so feet are kicking up. That's what's going on over here. And that's actually equality. But it does feel like there's somebody here with a childish, immature, asinine, selfish sort of viewpoint on it. It feels very tit for tat. They mistake tit for tat for equality. And they don't ever, somebody here thinks about what they give in the situation, and which is maturity in a relationship, by the way. When you try to judge the equality in a relationship by how much you're giving and not how much you're receiving, because that feels like somebody over here is like, just feels entitled to receive like a lot, and maybe praise upon someone's ever forgiving nature, or again, their stability nature here. Alchemical drip. Thank you. Thanks, Jess. Remember that freighter that blocked up the Suez Canal? Ever given LMAO. Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting here. So it's gotten them, I think it got them in their head, but it planted a seed, and it was really irritating. This person, there was some kind of irritation that either had to do with love, like fidelity, I think, and some kind of abusive relationship dynamic, or finances. And it was really irritating for a person, but it really got them thinking, and it had a ripple effect. Because somebody can only be strong for so long. Someone can only not be poured into for so long. And I think that they were trapped inside some kind of traditional way of thinking, where it's like, you should value this relationship. But if your partner has dropped the social contract, is it really a relationship anymore? There's something here like that, where it gets to the heart of like, it's almost like a philosophical purity. Like, is this a relationship? Relationship is that Libran energy. It's equal give and take here. You choose to be in a relationship, but that choice is evergreen every single day. And so I'm choosing to wake up and participate in a healthy way in a relationship, but you just take from me, and then compare yourself to me in a way that favors discrepancy between the two of us in your direction. And so that you're not responsible, and so you don't have to deal with the root of it. And so it then is on my plate, and it's like worn somebody thin here. And somebody here didn't have the mindset to be able to break free and say, no, I'm well within my rights here to be treated fairly. Yeah. And so they're grateful about something here in the past. They're possibly grateful, for a secret with a friend, or some kind of, it's Sun in Scorpio energy. So it could be some kind of financial something that was hidden, some kind of financial strategy or something that was hidden, but it really, really depleted somebody's vitality here. They could even be grateful for a sickness, or something that happened with a child. Maybe somebody like, that there was a child that was sick that they really had to take care of because it made them aware. It just feels like something here that was hard to go through. And you probably wouldn't think, oh, I'm grateful for that. It was either sickness or maybe even a death or a job loss, or there was some hard thing and it changed this person, like kind of from the inside out. It changed their outlook. It changed their philosophy. And I think it had an impact on their health, their money, and their relationship status. I feel like I keep adding things to this. So it's like as this person is kind of working through it, like it keeps adding like boons to this. So it feels like this person went through something really, really hard, possibly with you. But it's the gift that keeps on giving in the long run. Somehow it's like this person found the golden goose, but it's definitely not just given to this person. I feel like this is the answer to that question when somebody was like, well, like, does that person ever get what they deserve? And I feel like this is the answer, like, yes. But it's like, it's also teaching that person something as well, too. God sometimes incentivizes friendships, relationships for us to stay longer so he can show you their true colors, to give you that clarity. That's how I lived one storyline. That is very interesting. Yes. So that he can show you their true colors. Yeah. And so you might be like, well, why am I in this? And well, you allow yourself to be, that's the dynamic that you're kind of allowing to be. And you have agency over that, There's also a Chinese proverb that says the moment that you start to feel sorry for a man, and it does specifically say a man, that is the start of your misfortune. So I think maybe for some of you, maybe this person, I don't know, because it feels like somebody was genuinely having a hard time, and it doesn't feel like that's the sin that broke the camel's back. It feels like the sin is your hard time, and you need to care enough about other people to do something about it. But it feels like somebody was hiding, and like, maybe they hid an affair or they hid something here. And I don't remember what I was going to say with that, but it just feels like the sin was not taking responsibility. Pick up your cross and follow me. Like, it feels like they tried to make it somebody else's problem. So it's like, I think that I'm going to cheat on you, but then it's your responsibility to keep the relationship together and not mine, even though my behavior is where the power is. That's where the real, I could choose not to put my dick in things. I could choose that. And I could learn how to be that person who has those skills. Cooperation is a skill. Or again, like if it's a money thing, I could learn how to not go gamble all my money away. I could learn how to have some restraint. I could get new job skills if I can't get a job. Like, I can do that, and I should do that 100%, that feels like that's the cardinal sin that was committed here, not necessarily whatever the other thing was. I feel like that could be worked through, that could be forgiven, but if and only if you've got somebody here who is fully in their agency of, I will solve this problem, and they actually solve it, So there's a lot of gratitude for hard stuff. There's irony and paradox. The 10 of swords, like they're really grateful for some kind of painful ending. I feel like there's a friend here, or there's it's like two-facedness. I don't know. Yeah. Because they're really grateful that they didn't keep playing out a cycle. I feel like this person in the past would have kept playing out a cycle where somebody was like in and out, or it was touch and go, or it was, I made a little bit of progress, but like that's kind of not preferable to the just tower moment, just rip the Band-Aid off kind of energy. To have this passionate new beginning, and something really will. It's like the fire that burns the field, but then like the plants. Yeah, and this person just finding their own. This is a phoenix energy, is what this is. Like a fire that just kind of burned something down, but then they've really emerged. And also it's caused this kind of judgment energy to kind of, I just saw it like whip through a town or something here. The judgment energy is kind of where it should go here, where it's unearthing. Yeah, something about a relationship where somebody just didn't bring the sauce. See how she's the strength card and he's the fool? They're not balanced. These two people are not matched. They're not a match for each other. But there was an illusion here. So they're grateful for some kind of tower. Because it cleared out the confusion. And I feel like maybe that had to do with options. Like it made the option clear because it's like, oh, you're never going to change. Oh, this. I think that somebody here promises that they're going to change or fix things, but they don't have the skill set. They don't have the mindset. They don't have the ingredients to actually change it. And this person couldn't see that before. But then some kind of tower moment hit, and they could see the way that this person was like responding to that tower moment. And they were like, oh, you are telling me that you're going to bake a cake, but you don't have any eggs. You don't have any flour. So you're not going to bake that cake, are you? Yeah. And it's really freed this person up from some kind of prison is what I'm getting. And the prison feels like this cycle. Yeah. And it allowed them to go independent. And that independence actually built their solar plexus, like their self-confidence in themselves. And it could have even been that it made them realize that they don't have something that they wanted to have, like something here. They were trying to be, it feels like somebody here was really trying to be a teamwork person. Like, but they were the only one giving. And so they're like, yes, teamwork. And I feel like there was somebody here that was like talking the talk of teamwork, but their actions are that of a leech. Like or somebody who is a destructor, like an actual destructor. And they would talk like they wanted cooperation and teamwork, but they don't have the eggs. They don't have the flour. And so they never intended to be a team player in that. And that's going to change their trajectory here. Yeah, there's some kind of secret truth. There's some kind of secret truth. And spirit, for some of you, spirit's holding it over somebody's head here. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I think I'm going to leave that there because there's just like a toughness. There's a hardness. They're grateful for something that doesn't look like something that anyone would ever be grateful for. And they're grateful because of the chain of events that it set off in their life. And it really set them free from a mindset, some kind of prison, and the way that they make sense. And I feel like this is just a very cooperative person, you know, that they would never want to leave somebody hanging, or they would never want to, but they always self-abandon because of that. And I think Spirit's trying to get this person to a place where somebody can really, really meet them and give to them what they give to other people. So yeah, because there's like it's like trying to start an ignition. It's a flicker energy where somebody here really brings this like this skillful and routine energy, and somebody else is just flickers in and out. And yeah. And this is maybe a person who is very lies and like manipulates because they can't just say that that's who they are, and then deal with it at the root kind of thing. Okay. You have described my situation to a T. Yes. Okay. So, okay, I'm going to leave pile number 3 there. I'm not going to read our book today. Okay, switching gears. Just popping right out of pile number 3 there. So we've been reading The Feminine Mystique for those of you that are just catching up. I don't know that I want to keep reading it aloud like on the channel. I really liked the first chapter. Like I feel like it really just kind of clicked certain things in. And I do like the way that she has with words, but it's a hard one to read out loud because there's a lot of quotations and it kind of flows in and out of that. And yeah, can we do general message instead? Yeah, I think I want to do general message instead. I think that's the better idea. So I'm not going to do that. We'll just do the general messages. And then I was kind of thinking that we have a different book because it keeps coming out in the readings and it also keeps coming out in the personals. And I keep telling myself like, oh, well, maybe we'll read that one. So maybe we'll take some time here, do some general messages for like a few live streams. And then the book, okay, because I keep forgetting the title of it for some reason. And if you're wondering what it is, it's Codependent No More by Melody Beattie. If I've said it and you're like, I wonder what book she's talking about, it's this one. And maybe we'll read that. Or parts of it.
Today?
Not today, but like in the future. We're just going to do general messages today. Codependent No More. I'm good with it. Send you link to, oh yes, thank you for saying, I want to read that too. Jess sent me another one and it was like the price that women pay for being good or something. It sounds really interesting. The book is in the description for those who are wondering. Yes. Okay. So, all right, let's do general messages here. I'm just going to take a little swig. On our best behavior. That's the name of the book that Jess sent me, in case you're interested in that one too. It's like On Our Best Behavior, the price women pay for being good, or something like that. Okay. General messages. What do you want to talk about, Spirit? Victory. Okay, I feel like this is actually an assurance energy. Like that somebody here is progressing and you will have victory. I don't know if somebody needed a little pick me up or just a little comfort or something, but somebody here, I feel like if you are on the move to something, and it could be anything, it could be a personal goal, it could be a project that you're working on, I feel like that you will have some kind of victory here, but it's like you're still in the process of it. It's still some kind of journey. And with the Queen of Cups, I feel like there's a lot of love here. I don't know if somebody's needing reassurance that there's like love here. But I also feel like this is for me, the Queen of Cups is like emotionally regulated, kind of contained energy with the lid on her cup. Nothing else is kind of getting in there. So I think it's saying like not to let anything kind of affect your emotions, like very much like internally sit with your emotions and keep at it. Keep with the routine, keep with the discipline, keep with the structure, keep your head down. Like he's very focused on like whatever it is he's doing. And I feel like there's some comfort and some reassurance that yes, you will in fact have some kind of victory. Whoa, 10 of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck. Yo. I feel like this is where you're headed. You're headed towards the 10 of Pentacles. So this feels like a lot of stability. I'm just getting structure and family, happy family life, support, money, assets. This feels like the whole shebang, but it's like, yes, just keep going. For some of you, there's a skill set that you're learning. Maybe you're in school for something and Spirit's saying, yeah, like keep going on that path or something here. Yeah, because I feel like I just heard worry wart. I feel like the worry is kind of getting to you here with the 9 of Swords and the moon energy and the death. So some of you are just like worried about like, when is this going to end? It could be this agony or this fear or this illusion or this cycle. When is this cycle going to end? But I feel like the ships are coming in, baby. The ships are coming in. And I'm kind of seeing like, okay, well, I saw this Black Mirror episode. This is like way back in the day. And it was like everybody went to like work, but work was like a gym and the people got on these bikes. They were like the exercise bikes and the bikes would generate energy to power the city. And so I'm getting that bike energy of like, it feels like you're on a bike and maybe it feels like you're going nowhere. Because they were on these like exercise bikes, like just in a building, you know? And it might feel like you're going nowhere, but you're generating some kind of power, if that makes sense. And so just know that it's justice that you move forward and possibly like at speed here. But you are like maybe feeling alone and it feels very internal. And this is the part of your journey. Okay. So don't be hard on yourself if you are at an internal part of your journey and you are actually doing the work and you're working on yourself here. Cause that is still work. Like, even if you're not doing something externally in the world and you're like, like you're chomping at the bit, you really want to be able to do that, but you're doing the work internally and that is still work, even though you can't see that. And you're building the energy to go into the world, you know, of what it is that you're trying to like, power. And, maybe there's an argument or like, Spirit's like, I feel like there's a chomping at the bit or like wanting to just like jump forward. And there's like a judgment energy on that, like that it can't just happen. It can't just happen. There's some kind of work here. And remember what I was saying in one of the other piles about the Fool energy and that Uranus energy, that kind of stroke. Uranus is that flash. It just comes in quick, whether that's an opportunity or whether that is an insight. And there's a very different quality to that coming in and there being a foundation. And that coming in and there being no foundation, you know, because it might seem like an answer to your prayer, but then you're going to juggle it and then you're going to drop it. And then it's going to be like, then you're going to be praying for another Uranus energy instead of spending the time tilling the soil, plowing the field, you know, creating this kind of bed for that Uranus energy. Oh, I just saw a candle like in the middle of something and the Uranus energy coming in and lighting the candle. And then that candle can hold that energy, you know, that fire that was lit. It's not just going to go out right away. The candle is there to then that wax is going to hold the candle. And now you've got a much more stable energy that you can work with. And you've transformed that into something very stable. So there might be a stroke of insight. There might be an idea. There might be something that's coming in the future. It is coming in, but what they're doing, it has to be done. And it might seem frustrating now, but it needs to be done. That way it's not squandered, you know, or it doesn't just, that's that kind of Knight of Wands energy where it kind of gets started and then it doesn't, or it kind of gets started and then it doesn't. There's some kind of like foundational energy and it feels internal. Spirit is saying it's sorry for the confusion and it's sorry like about like some kind of options. Like, how do I navigate through this? It feels like there's some kind of confusion. Spirit's saying it's sorry for that. Because I don't know, it's like maybe you're wanting to be financially independent, or you're wanting to be independent or possibly single or something, and it feels like there's a blockage. Or maybe for some of you, there's somebody that you want to get to and you feel like this person is confident. I just heard hot and like single or something like that, and there's been some kind of blockage. Spirit is saying it's sorry for that. Why? Oh, just because of the grief, or because of the sadness, or because of the competition is what I'm getting. Even if you feel like there's competition in a work or something here. Yes. Spirit's saying, because I'm feeling like, I'm like, what is that? Because also the Lover's card came out. So about some kind of choice. Maybe for some of you, you didn't get chosen like for a job or something like that. And there's confusion around that. And Spirit is saying that's not really your opportunity because you're building the foundation. And then there's going to be something that comes in, I feel like. Wait, that will... somebody here, there's a Queen of Swords energy aspect of yourself or somebody else here that is bringing in some kind of Ace of Cups energy. It might even be on, it might seem like something here is an accident. There is, cutting away. Yeah, cutting away from this devil energy for some kind of quick fix energy, cutting away from that. And actually being the King of Pentacles is like the Ace of Cups energy. Yeah. And something here needs to be like reconciled though. I don't know. So what else do you want to say, Spirit, in the general messages? I feel like this is about comfort and joy. Comfort and joy. I really like those two words for Christmas. And if I had any of those like signs or something in my house, it would say comfort and joy, because I just really like those words, comfort and joy. Tidings of comfort and joy to you and yours on this Thank-A-Ween Miss. So, okay. There is some kind of balancing that's going on here. I feel like some of you are confused. Like there's some kind of witnessing of karma balancing out. And it might, like for somebody or something else, and it might feel like a judgment. But I feel like you're just being encouraged to keep working on something. It feels like it's internal. Just keep working on it. And listening to that intuition. You're moving towards a 10 of Pentacles energy. You really are. You really are. Anything else you want to say about that? Queen of Swords. Yeah, it might look like some kind of harsh judgment or somebody like cutting away from you. Yes, Spirit is like confirming it again. Spirit is being so funny in my mind right now because, again, like I just saw that like the Queen of Swords and she was like, ugh. And I was like, I think this is a good thing. And Spirit's like, yes, yes. I don't think the Spirit is like wanting you to like rejoice or anything, but yeah, it's. It feels like protective mother energy. It also feels like healthy mother energy, though. And it's causing you... Oh, maybe... Okay, so is there a Queen of... If you know who a Queen of Swords figure is in your life, that is this... It kind of is giving the peace... Oh my gosh, peace... Not peace pilgrim. Buffalo... In this deck... I'm going to find it now. It's the, maybe I won't. I don't know. The Buffalo Peace Woman. Peace Warrior. Okay, well, I don't know why I'm so stuck on this, like finding her image. But where she comes in with wisdom, but it's like this what kind of energy. So if there's somebody like that around you, I actually think that Spirit is saying that is, it's protective mother energy. And it's healthy mother energy. And maybe you're supposed to compare that to your own mother. And that's going to tell you there's something wibbly wobbly. I feel like you're supposed to make a comparison between that energy because it's healthy. It feels abrasive or it feels like not correct, but it is correct. And there's something about, this is so crazy, your own mother. I don't know, you could have any type of mother. She could have had some Queen of Swords energy herself, but maybe it wasn't healthy. She was overprotective, but it was in a manipulative way and it was meant to isolate you, or maybe she was really emotionally mature and was never the Queen of Swords, like in your own life, but needed to be. So something here feels normal or comfortable for you, but it shouldn't, because it's wrong. And it's also, I just heard it's the cause of your problems. I don't think that they're trying to like dump all of your problems onto like this mother energy, but there's some problems that you're having here and it's a mother energy. And it also feels kind of like quicksand, like the mother energy feels flim flam, and it feels like it shouldn't be. And it feels like there should have been this energy in your home earlier on. This kind of like, no, this is the right way. But if it was in your home, that Queen of Swords energy, it could have been wrongly aspected. It was under the guise of nurturance or under the guise of it, but it was actually just like cruel or self-absorbed or manipulative or whatever. And it doesn't have to be coming from your mother, but then how did your mother respond to it? Because it could have been her mother, or it could have been somebody else, like maybe even your father or somebody in the home. But then what did your mother do in response to it? It feels flim flam. It's not correct. So there's, they're trying to bring some type of healthy mother energy and possibly like the pile number 1 person, like that container energy. And maybe it's an energy. Maybe for some of you, it's not a person. It's an energy that's like happening in your life right now. And it's bringing in a blessing. It's bringing in a blessing. This is so confusing and it's so weird, but it's bringing in a blessing. And this actually does remind me of a reading that's coming out on the channel. It's in the lineup to come out on the channel. And maybe it has already been released, probably just on Patreon if it's been released at all. It was the one of where I saw the storm like way out in the ocean. It's a metaphor. There was like a storm way out in the ocean. It was bringing in a new wind. And that's kind of the energy that I'm getting here. Yeah, it's bringing in this like healthy mother energy as maybe an aspect of self, but like around you, stable, growing, healthy, confident, balanced. It's an offering. It's coming in, but it's a process. So it's by way of this, of there's some kind of illusion or some kind of fantasy. Somebody came up short here and Spirit's trying to offer you a higher cup and a new beginning and teamwork and building. That's what Spirit's trying to do. And I just heard that Avril Lavigne song, Keep Holding On. Keep holding on. You're going to make it through. You're going to make it through. So yeah, that's what I have here. But it also feels like you're working through some kind of karma. And, because remember I saw the 6 of Wands. So you're on your journey here and you are going to be victorious in this, but the 6 of Wands for me, for some reason I associate it with like Saturn in Leo, and Saturn is obstacles and it is karma that you're working through. And it feels like in a Leo capacity. So it could have to do with a child. It could have to do with reputation. It could have to do with leadership. And the mother issue may have to do like, there's a voice. Okay. Saturn is also it's our conscience. It's like our internalized voice of authority, which usually comes from our parents. That's what I feel like needs to get corrected here. There's an inappropriate voice. Oh, I hate to be so hard on your mom because I know that she probably did the best that she could for a lot of you. Some of you are like, no, she was an absolute terror. But it's incorrect. There's a voice in your mind where it's too soft, where it shouldn't be. It should be a different voice in your mind. And that's what's kind of fucking you. It's what's kind of fucking you up because it lies to you. And it's either it's too cushy it's too lax in areas where it shouldn't be, and it's hard in the areas where it shouldn't be. It either has no boundaries or like if it has to do with the Queen of Swords energy. If your mom was Queen of Swords, if she can make decisions, and if she, was that kind of, I feel like it was in all the wrong ways or for the wrong reasons. She was protective, but it was really just to isolate you. It looked like protection, but she was really just isolating you and controlling you and being manipulative. But if she doesn't have it at all, then the voice in your head is way, way, way too lax in places where it should not be. But that's what feels comfortable to you. But it's just because that's what you were around for the majority of your time. It doesn't make it right, And so there's some kind of Queen of Swords energy that they're trying to push into your life. And it could be an energy. And I think they're trying to get a person around you that's healthy mother energy. And it's, I think, kind of like pile number 1. And that might feel abrasive or it might feel wrong. But I also feel like you're invited to integrate that into yourself in the world. And I just heard, and spick and span will just kind of, it'll change your life is what I'm getting. That's what's going to level you up. And then you've got a spiritual inheritance. You got some kind of big blessing that's coming in. But you're feeling so defensive about it. You're feeling so defensive about it because you're like, yeah, and I'm hearing, how are you supposed to be like created into a masterpiece if you're irritated by every rub? And I saw a study not too long ago where they were talking about people's level of defensiveness has increased like over time, and they don't know really why that is. There could be several different variables that affect that. But I think part of it is because like there are so many voices around us, like all the time, on the internet and in our lives, that it's like, who do you even listen to? So of course people have to be like a little less porous, to all of that. But so in an environment like that, mother's voice is maybe like it stands out. And I don't know, but I feel like you kind of can't ignore this Queen of Swords, whoever it is, because it might be your boss or somebody that's making a decision or somebody who's very clear cut. It's this peace pilgrim kind of but it's very good natured. It's the mother who, she knows how the world is, and she's going to correct you, or the world will correct you. And she doesn't want the world to correct you because the world doesn't give a shit about you. They'll just chew you up and spit you out. She loves you. My dad used to say, kid, I love you too much to let you act like that. And that's this kind of energy, because there's a consequence. You're going to run into the wrong one, or it's going to mean that like a mother who never disciplines her child. It's like the child is unruly and nobody ever wants to be around that child as it grows into a person. Nobody wants to be around you, so that means you're going to have no friends, or that means you're not ever going to be able to get hired because people find you obnoxious or something. It's like, no, lock it up. There's a certain way, but and here's where you can let loose a little bit more, here's how you can trust yourself. Here's how, that's the energy that this kind of comes from. But you have to look, there's something here where it's like the delivery that you think is incorrect, but is it moving in the right direction? Is it motivated by the right things? I don't know. There's something here like that. It's either coming from you, or where you're asked to embrace that energy and it doesn't feel right coming from you, but Spirit's helping you to do that. Or for some of you, there's just an energy around and it's confusing you, but you are working through karmas and you are working through obstacles. There's obstacles you couldn't get through otherwise. That's what I'm trying to say. This Queen of Swords is helping you become the person, stiffening up in the right ways, right? Your muscle should be stiffer than your fat cells. You need fat cells. You need fat reserves. So I'm not like fat shaming anybody here. That's energy. It's how your body kind of stores energy. But if you stiffen up your fat cells, I don't even know what that would be, and you loosen up your muscle cells, those energies are in the wrong place. This Queen of Swords is helping you to realize that soften in the fat cell and pump up your muscle. And that's how you're going to get through the obstacle course. All of a sudden, things that were really, really hard and you couldn't get through, now all of a sudden you can get through them with ease. That's the blessing. That's the gift. But it comes in the package of the Queen of Swords. And I think for some of you, this has to occur first, where you see the blessings of the Queen of Swords by accepting her decision, by incorporating her lesson, by understanding her energy before you yourself can embody Queen of Swords. And then you have karmas to clean up that way, where you will be the healthy Queen of Swords for the people around you, and the healing will continue, Because I think for some, you've been hesitant to embrace your own Queen of Swords energy internally, whether you're male or female. But it's because you associate the Queen of Swords with something incorrect because of how your mom was. I'm literally getting that, because either your mom was out of control with the Queen of Swords energy, saying that it was good for you or whatever, and it actually wasn't. Or she had no Queen of Swords at all. And so you didn't feel safe because she's not telling people to go take a fucking hike that she should be taking a hike to. And sometimes that person was you, like knock it off, and like actually meaning it. So there's just a misunderstanding of that Queen of Swords energy. There's somebody here where it's like, it's always just a bitch, but be a bitch in the right direction. Okay. It's potency, it's power. And if you have people like that, goodness, you can sustain goodness in the world. You don't just get run over by somebody who's willing to hold the sword. You see what I'm saying? So keep going. You're headed in the right direction. There's going to be certain things that are unlocked here. There's obstacles that you can't figure out how to get around, and that's how you get around it. And Spirit's trying to teach you. And Spirit's going to bring in a Queen of Swords if it hasn't already, so don't be surprised. But there's maybe a Queen of Swords energy here. It's abrasive, but it's true. And the sad thing is, okay, the last thing that I'll say here. The sad thing is, this Queen of Swords, this is all in one go around. So it's a very potent decision. It's knock it off. this shouldn't have happened because there really should have been something else in your past. And it feels like childhood, which is like 18 years or 25 years, depending, like that emerging adulthood from 18 to 25. So somebody had 25 years with you where they could have been a little softer. You could have had a little more wiggle room. But we're past that, is what I'm hearing. We're past that. So this Queen of Swords is having to do 25 years of work and possibly undoing several years of damage, okay? So just know, like, put them in context is what I'm hearing. Because this Queen of Swords, I think, is going to get a lot of your ire and not a lot of the blessing. And that's going to be the pile number 1 person again, where it's like, it's a very thankless job. And maybe you're like, my mother is just such a sweetheart, but mom was such a sweet person, but just was actually very selfish and you were scared of her. So you never challenged her and you respect her, or had no backbone whatsoever and actually left you high and dry in a lot of ways, but got all the love and all the praise. And then they're going to have to bring in this Queen of Swords and you'll be like, wow, she's such a bitch and she's the thing that's going to save you. So just watch it. I'm hearing, just watch it. Yeah. Okay. Beautiful wrap. Okay. So that's what I have for you guys. I hope that last part made sense. Sometimes I get long-winded when I don't feel like I'm making sense. Because I want to get it through clearly. Maybe that's like a message for somebody here too. You don't have to be long-winded. Just maybe like stop or regroup or I don't know, figure out a different way. Ebony, thank you so much for the super chat. More pumpkin caramel cookie candles. This is a bribe. We can do that. We just don't have the pumpkin jars. But we can do that. Are we out?
What's that?
The pumpkin, Ebony is bribing you for more pumpkin caramel cookie jars.
Oh, yeah.
More, yeah. I love that one too. Actually, we had that lit at Thanksgiving. And I walked into my mother-in-law's house and I was like, what is that? And she was like, that's your candle. Because I thought she was cooking something in the oven and I was like, what is that? Yeah, I hope she's feeling better. The tummy bug disappears. I feel great too. But I did take something before this and I've been drinking my ginger. But yeah, I feel great. Who knows if it's just like the adrenaline. But yeah. Okay. I bought the last pumpkin jar. Not sorry. It was a gift though. I won't have one until next year. Oh. White Buffalo Woman. Thank you so much. White Buffalo Woman. Okay. So, oh my gosh. Okay. The last thing that came through, because for some of you, I feel like you're actually being called to be this Queen of Swords person. And it's either like with your kids or like in your job or something. And again, it feels very, very thankless, but I feel like you're trying to get something across the finish line where you're like, I don't know if this is going to take, like if you're trying to teach your kids something and you're like, I feel like such a bitch, but like, you have to keep the container, and you do, and you have to be consistent, like because the worst thing that you can be is inconsistent. Like if you enforce something one way, like I'm talking about for the brain, I just know that from like the behavioral psych stuff with the pigeons. Like the worst thing that you can do, like in terms of building like an addiction and confusion, is to be inconsistent, where you enforce it sometimes and you don't enforce it other times because you want to be likable, or you want to just give them a little bit of a break. Like that's kind of the worst thing that you can be, like in the brain. So I think some of you, it could be that you are this Queen of Swords, or you're being asked to be, in order to turn a corner. It's karmic. So if this is for a kid, I just got like goosebumps. Then you got to be that way, to help them turn some kind of corner, but you won't regret it. Like it'll be hard. But it's going to get there. I am like flooded with light right now. Yeah. And that's needed. It's very much needed. And it's like just a return, a karmic return. Or it's like at your job or something. You're going to get somewhere with it. It's going somewhere. They're going to get it. You're going to get somewhere with it. 10 toes down on our own truth win. Yeah. Okay, so thank you guys for hanging out with me. Happy Thank-a-Ween-Miss. I hope you had a great Thanksgiving, and it's officially Christmas, so brace yourself. You've been warned. I'm probably going to have like a headband on, a different one. I've been celebrating Christmas pretty much since Halloween. So now I'm just going to do it more publicly, but thanks for being my people. Thanks for putting up with me. Thanks for being spiritual people and for doing the work here. And even when it's sometimes thankless for some of you who chose pile number 1, and also for running in for pile number 2, running in on some shark people that you could bite you. And for pile number 3, going through some like tower moment stuff. These are like big things to be grateful for. And I'm grateful for you guys. And yeah, that's what I have for you. Do we have, oh no, it's another from the vault tomorrow, right? because we had an extra Saturday. For those of you that are on Patreon, it's another, yeah. So it's another From the Ball pick a card reading tomorrow on Patreon. And yeah. Okay, I'll see you when I see you. Bye, guys.